Greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best show on the internet, the John Campea Show's YouTube channel right here. And on the weekends, we do this little thing called Open Mic. Now, what's the difference? Well, on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we talk a lot of movie news, and then we save some time for some open discussion questions from you guys, the viewers. But here on Open Mic, that's all we do. It's just all open topic questions from you guys, the viewers. And it is the weekend, guys. Congratulations that you made it all the way through the week, and you've got a great weekend laid out for you. I have a very low-key, busy but busy at home kind of weekend thing. Anne actually just dropped her off at the airport. Anne is on her way to Las Vegas. There's a new wrestling federation. I can't remember the name of it, but there's a brand new wrestling federation that's just starting, and they got some big stars in it to compete with the WWE, and they're having their first show in Vegas this weekend. So Anne and a friend of ours went out to Vegas to go watch that. So I'm just going to be working at home this weekend. But still, it's going to be kind of nice having the place to myself. I hope you guys have some good plans for this weekend as well. So listen, with all that down, let's get to it right away and jump into the live questions. You guys have been firing in a ton of them, so let's jump in and get to them. And the first one we're going to start with today comes to us from Logan James Kynaston, who writes, what do you define as a filmmaker? The producer, director, maybe even the editor? Or is there no single answer as it's an all-around teamwork? Thanks. I would answer that question with a question, Logan. It's like, what do you call an artist? A painter, a musician, a designer? You know, what do you call an artist? Well, they're all artists. Everybody involved in the process and practice of filmmaking is a filmmaker. If you're an editor, you're a filmmaker. If you're an actor, you're a filmmaker. If you're a director, you're a filmmaker. If you're a screenwriter, you're a filmmaker. I mean, so when I think of a filmmaker, I think of anybody whose work involves the development and the production of motion pictures and movies. To me, that's what I consider a filmmaker anyway. Now, I'm sure there are probably some people that would just consider a director a filmmaker, a producer a filmmaker, whatever. But to me, it's a more widely encompassing thing. Good sound mixers, to me, are filmmakers. Everybody whose art works towards that practice and that goal of making films, to me, that's a filmmaker. So that's how I would answer it. But I'm sure different people would have different answers, Logan. I'm not sure any of them would be wrong, but that's just the way I look at it. All right. Nathan Oswald writes, do you think people would enjoy Incredible Hulk more if it had Ruffalo instead of Norton? No. I think Norton was great in the role. It was great. Now, people who have never seen The Incredible Hulk, but have watched the rest of the MCU movies with Mark Ruffalo in the role, were they to now go back, they might enjoy it a little bit more if it was Ruffalo, just because they're used to Ruffalo. But honestly, no, because otherwise that would suggest that Edward Norton somehow did a bad job in that movie, and he didn't. He did great in that movie. He did wonderful. And I love Mark Ruffalo as well. But no, in general, except for that one circumstance, again, of people who didn't see Incredible Hulk before, but have seen all the Mark Ruffalo ones and now go back and watch it, maybe they would enjoy it a little bit more because it would be consistent with what their experience is. Other than that, no, I don't think so. Star Killer writes, do you think Blade can fit into the MCU in the next 5 years? Probably not. For a couple of reasons. One, I don't think the fans want Blade unless it's rated R. And we've already gotten our indications from Bob Iger that Bob Iger has no interest in letting anything R-rated in the MCU. R-rated stuff will be outside of the MCU. So we as the fans will have a choice. Okay, do we want a toned down Blade then, a Blade that fits in a PG universe, or do we want Blade as an R-rated Blade, and we just accept that it'll be outside of the MCU? I vote for keeping him R and putting him outside of the MCU. So the only way we'll see him in the MCU is if it's not rated R, because we're just not going to see Bob Iger allow that. All right, Nathan Oswald writes, I know I'm in the vast minority, but I liked Baywatch 2017. I went for the self-referential humor with moments of drama and heart, and to me it succeeded. That's the thing. Look, straight up, my brother, I thought that movie, if I could pour gasoline on it and burn it for eternity, I would. I thought that was one of the worst films I've ever seen. But therein lies the beauty of the subjectivity of film. You were able to enjoy. There was something in there that worked for you on that level, and you enjoyed it. And that's great. I celebrate that people like films that I don't like, because I'm glad somebody's getting some joy and enjoyment out of them. That's great. I can't possibly disagree with you any more than I do. I mean, I don't think it's at all possible to disagree with you more than I do. I hated that movie. I'll tell you what. I went to go watch that. Paramount invited me. Actually, it was me and it was Christian. Me and Christian Harloff. We went to Paramount. To the Paramount, the fabled Paramount lot in Hollywood, California. We went to the Paramount lot and we sat in their private theater. And there was a bunch of other people there too, but we were sitting right beside a buddy of ours who just recently started working for Paramount. And so he was sitting right across the aisle from us. I swear to God, if he hadn't been sitting there, I would have got up and left that movie. True story. True story. But again, just because that's the way it hit me, that doesn't mean it needs to be the way that hit you. And if you enjoyed it, that's the only thing that matters. All right, Nathan Oswald follows up with, one thing I can't stand about Captain America Winter Soldier and Civil War is the choppy frame rate for some of the action scenes. I think you're just using the wrong terminology. I don't think they changed the frame rate for that. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think they did. There was some of rapid editing, though. There was some rapid editing in some of their scenes, which is weird because when you look at some other films they did, like when you look at Infinity War and you look at Endgame, they do a very good job of not doing shaky camera, super rapid, quick edits for their action. They make sure we can see what's going on screen. There were a few moments of that I don't think that's a completely invalid criticism. I think there were probably moments of that in Endgame or in Winter Soldier and Civil War where they did a little bit of that, but to me, it never pushed it too far. But I can see where you're coming from on that. All right, no Quizada writes, I like X-Men Origins Wolverine. There, I said it. Nothing wrong with that. And look, I don't think X-Men Origins Wolverine is a complete dumpster fire. I think it's a bad film, but I don't think it's a complete dumpster fire. It had its moments, and it had some things about it that were pretty interesting. Of course, some legendarily bad stuff. Sewing up Deadpool's mouth, for example. Anyway, but it like we're talking about with Nathan with Baywatch. Hey, if you watch, you know what? No, you're not the only person I know who likes. I know a few people that like that movie. Again, I think it's a bad film, but not the worst thing I've ever seen. But hey, there it is. McP writes, with the rise of Skywalker, could Lucasfilm / Disney potentially have a Justice League on their hands? With the rise of Skywalker, could Lucasfilm / Disney potentially have a Justice League on their hands? I don't know what you mean. Yeah, sorry, McP. I don't know what it is you're asking. I apologize about that. Folsom53 writes, Return of the Jedi turns 36 today. Yeah, we just had Empire Strikes Back anniversary recently. Return of the Jedi turns 36. Woo! Man, I remember as a child watching that. Oh, my God. Folsom53, thoughts on True Romance. True Romance is kind of a classic. It's kind of got a culty classic kind of thing to it. I liked it, but I remember, like, even when I was a lot younger, I never liked it as much as a lot of people did. I think it's solid. I think it's good, but again, it's just not, it never hit me the way it hit a lot of other people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it's a bad film. No, I enjoyed it. It's just, I never had that place on the shelf for me that it did with a lot of other people. All right. Chris Feldman writes, some friends were discussing ER and I brought up a story point from season 6. Someone passing by got mad at me for spoiling it. It's 20 years old. Yeah. At 20 years, it's pretty fair open game to talk about whatever. At 20 years, if you were at all interested in seeing it, you would have seen it by now. So yeah. And especially if they just walked by you and you're not in a conversation with them, screw that. You had every right to have that conversation, Chris. You had every right in the world to have that conversation. Okay. Star Killer writes, would love to Malik Revan and external twins in live action. Punctuation's our friend, Star Killer. Are you saying I would love to see Malik, Common, Revan, Common, and twins in a live action? What story of Knights of the Old Republic would you like to see on the big screen? I'll be honest with you. I've said this before. I will say it again. I'm actually more interested in the Old Republic era than I am with the specific story of Knights of the Old Republic. I've said that many times. I'm saying it again. Look, you got some rich stuff there. You do. And you can make a good movie out of that stuff. I don't think they need to stick to anything in the game, though. I really don't. I've always just thought that the notion of the Old Republic era is what, as a Star Wars fan, really interests me. Because you can now, because it's separated by thousands of years, you can go into the Star Wars world and tell completely different stories. And you don't have to worry about whether those go against canon or not, because it's so far separated that you can say anything happens in the Old Republic era and it doesn't affect anything that happens in the main trilogy era, because it's thousands of years have passed. There's no directly connecting tissue. So I would say, honestly, there's nothing specifically out of the game that I am most wanting to see. I'm just really interested personally in the era itself. And look, if they adapt some stuff out of the game, great. Just be prepared for this. Don't expect a true one-to-one remake of the game into a movie form. They'll probably do what they did with Admiral Thrawn. Because remember, Knights of the Old Republic is not canon. There are elements that are canon, but it's just like how Heir to the Empire, the Grand Admiral Thrawn trilogy in the books is not canon, but they picked a few things out, like the character of Thrawn himself, and brought him into canon without bringing that entire story into canon. Don't be surprised if that's what they do with this. And that's good. And don't get upset if that's what they do, because if they do, it's because they have a good idea. So just give them the benefit of the doubt. Anyway, Damian Davies writes, did you know that Sir Anthony Hopkins began his career as the understudy of Sir Laurence Olivier and later became his protege? Greetings from UK. I think I heard that. I believe I've heard that before, but I'm not going to say I knew that off the top of my head. So no, I mean, generally speaking, I think I heard it, but no, I didn't actually know that. By the way, Sir Anthony Hopkins was one of my all-time favorite celebrities that I've ever met. When I got to meet him, some of you may have heard this story before, but I was going in to meet him, and I know some celebrity actors are very particular. If they've been knighted, they want Sir put in front of their name. Right? Like I've seen Ben Kingsley chastise some people who just refer to him and fail to put Sir in front of his name. There's some very touchy about that. So anyway, I was going in to meet, because it's a huge honor. I get that. If I was knighted by the Queen, I'd want you to refer to me as Sir too, damn it. Anyway, so I'm going in to meet Anthony Hopkins, and I grab his publicist first and say, hey, by the way, like, does he prefer Sir Anthony? Does he prefer, like, how does he want to be addressed? And he goes, oh, you know what? I don't think it's a big deal with Mr. Hopkins. I'm like, okay, but I decided I'm going to do that anyway. So they escort me to his room, and I go into his room at the hotel, and he gets up out of his chair, and his publicist introduced me, and I go, Sir Anthony, it's a great honor to meet you. As we were reaching out to shake hands, Sir Anthony, it's a really great honor to meet you. He goes, Sir Anthony, grabs my hand, pulls me in, gives me a hug. Ah, dear boy. And it's one of the coolest things ever. And I just went on to thoroughly enjoy my stuff with him. Anyway, there's my one in my life, the one Anthony Hopkins story I have in my life. So there it is. He was super cool about it, though. Ant Banks 1984 writes, thoughts on Stanley Cup final? The Toronto Maple Leafs aren't in it. Hey, look. Super thrilled for the Bruins, super thrilled for the Blues. But the Leafs aren't in it. They're in my interest ends. Damian Davies writes, any defiant last words? I like Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. Today just seems to be a day about people saying that they like certain movies that everybody else hates, which is great. I've got those too. You know, I've said before, I always contend Kingdom of the Crystal Skull isn't that bad of a movie. It's just a bad Indiana Jones movie. I've always said, if you call the movie The Adventures of Duke Willingham and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and it was a swashbuckler named Duke Willingham, and it was almost the exact same movie, I think most of us wouldn't think it's all that bad. Not great, but not even all that bad. It just didn't work for me as an Indiana Jones film, but it did for you, and that's all that matters, Damien. All right, I'm Upset writes, in my opinion, Holmes and Watson killed Ferrell's career. Agree? Absolutely not. Will Ferrell is still a major, major name. He's put out terrible, terrible movies before, so no, it didn't kill his career. Nathan Oswald writes, wait, so did Cap have to re-inject the Aether back into Jane without her knowing? Apparently. You know what? There are so many problems with that whole thing. I'll say it. Look, I've seen Endgame 4 times. You know I love this movie. But just because I love a movie doesn't mean I won't point out the things that there are problems with it. The whole thing about Cap going to take everything back was a stupid, stupid thing. The whole point of it was stupid. It's like, really, to get them, it's so important. You need to send all the Avengers you have available, and you all have to go do it to make sure it succeeds. And you're saying it's so vitally important that they all get put back, but no, let's just send one guy. You won't need any backup. You won't need any help. Just send the one guy. Hey, where is he going to put the Soul Stone back since they don't even know where it came from? Hawkeye just woke up in the middle of the lake with it in his hand, but we don't know where it came from. How does he put it back? Who cares? Wait a minute. If we got to put the ether back, it's got to go into... He's just going to grab Jane and shove a needle in her, or they got some ways. Don't worry about it. Hey, you got to put Mjolnir back. They don't actually know where it came from. Thor just stretched out his hand and called to it, and it came from somewhere. And you're saying everything's got to be put back exactly where it was. They don't know where it was. How's he going to do that? Don't worry about it. I mean, there are so many problems, but they forced it in, and they forced it to be that way because they wanted to have Cap have his certain ending. So they did something completely illogical to allow them to have the ending that they wanted. But whatever. You know, it's funny. I don't know if you guys saw this. I don't think I have it. Let me just double check. Oh, I do still have it. Hold on a second. Let me bring this up here. Somebody else shared this with me the other day, and I thought this was hilarious. So let me just bring this up here. So this was another kind of logic problem with Endgame. Somebody put up this, and I shared it on my Instagram. But it's this. When Hulk did the snap, Clint's phone got a call from his wife, Laura. Notice it says it's her name. Sorry, right here. Right here, it says her name. Right? He got it as soon as the snap happened, got a call from his wife, Laura. It's been 5 years since the snap. So, does this mean that, number one, that Clint always paid his wife's cell bill, even though she was gone? 2, always kept it charged. He kept her phone paid for and kept it charged. And number 3, then not only did he keep it charged, but kept it right in the house where she could find it easily if by whatever stretch of the imagination she got unsnapped. Is that what happened? And I stopped and I went, yeah, that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? But whatever. There are so many plot holes in Endgame. But this is what I always say. There are so many logic problems and plot holes. It's every time I think about the movie, I think of more of them. But my overriding philosophy has always been, I really don't care, because the payoff of the plot hole was so great. That whole thing with Captain America going back to do everything by himself, that's idiotic. It's pure idiotic, made no logical sense whatsoever. But the payoff is we got that old man Captain America going, hey, Sam, that's great. If I have to give that scene up just to make sense of this other stuff, forget it. I want that scene. Yes, it makes no sense that her cell phone bill was paid, that he kept it charged and kept it at the house and kept going back to the house every once in a while to make sure the phone's charged. Well, makes no sense. But to have that moment in the movie where that emotional moment where he looks down at his phone and he sees for the first time in 5 years his wife calling him, I wouldn't give that up for the world. So I just think there are some maniacal defenders of Endgame who just refuse. They're like the 3 monkeys, see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil. And it's like, no logic problems, no plot holes in Endgame. It's like, guys, you're allowed to love a movie, as I do, and acknowledge the problems in it, and still unapologetically love the movie. It's like some people feel like if you point out problems in a movie, you disqualify yourself from being allowed to love it. And that's not true. That's not true at all. But yeah, there are issues there. There are issues with Endgame. And the more I saw it and the more I think about it, the more issues I come up with. But it doesn't matter because the movie's such a great experience. I really don't care. Okay. Let's keep moving here. Ant Banks, 1984 writes, do you think down the line in a future Marvel movie that they'll have Banner snack out of Professor Hulk and go back to regular Hulk? You probably mean like snap out. I certainly hope so. Look, I am not a fan of what they did with Hulk in Infinity War and Civil War. He's the Hulk. He's the nuclear weapon. He's the Incredible Hulk. He is World Breaker Hulk. and you put him on the bench for the two biggest Avengers movies of all time. I still respect what the Russo brothers did, though, because they were trying something very different with Hulk, and I always respect that. I do wish they had done something different, but whatever. Hey, they tried something different. Full marks for that. Full marks for that. I'm not going to be one of those guys who goes, you didn't do what I wanted you to do, therefore I'm not going to like your movie. No. I do wish they had done something different, but I respect what they did. I think going forward, though, if you're going to use the Hulk, use the Hulk. Get us back the Hulk. And I think they probably will. Not if the Russos were in charge, but the Russos aren't in charge. Kevin Feige is, and I think they will. So we'll have to wait and see. All right, Damian Davies writes, Rogue Cut of Days of Future Past is the best X-Men movie. I place the theatrical cut below X-Men 2. I love the reversal of Magneto trying to save Rogue after trying to kill her in X-Men 2000. I prefer the theatrical cut. Don't get me wrong. I like the stuff in the Rogue cut. I just didn't really feel that the Rogue cut changed things too awful much, at least not significantly. I think to me, X-Men 2 for me was my favorite for a long time. And is probably still my second favorite X-Men movie ever, if we're not counting Logan. Because if we are counting Logan, Logan's the greatest X-Men movie ever made, followed for me by Days of Future Past, and then probably X-Men 2. But I don't find there to be terrible. It's just a few moments. It's not terribly different. So I'm actually going to stay with the theatrical cut, but I do like that stuff. But it's not enough for me to ump it over the theatrical cut. But then again, that's me, right? Like, you guys have heard me talk about this before. I'm a theatrical cut guy. I believe theatrical cut is the movie. Director's cuts of whatever kind aren't the movie. They're elseworld things. To me, that whatever the movie was when it was released in theaters, that's what the movie is. And you can have director's cuts and alternate cuts, and they can be great, and that's wonderful. But it's still not the actual movie to me. To me, what is finished, completed, boom, and released in theaters, that's the movie. And it takes quite a bit. There's very, very few director's cuts that I prefer over the originals. Over the director's cuts that I prefer over the theatrical cuts at any rate. But so take that with a grain of salt when I say that. Take that with a grain of salt. But you made a really good point, Damien. All right. Chris Feldman writes, where are we at here? There he is. I think the Star Wars prequels really missed having a Han Solo type of character, a charismatic skeptic guy to offset the formality of the Jedi Age. Agree? I don't really think it makes a difference. You still would have had the same, all the other problems that were still there were still there. I don't think there is my personal opinion here, Chris, is that I don't think there's a magic formula that have this kind of a character in a movie works. I don't know that that's true. I think there are many people who personally felt like I missed that Han Solo kind of character, but at the same time, had they given us a character like that, I think a lot of people just would have gone, oh, so this is your Han Solo carbon copy? It's just your Han Solo character? You're just copying what you did? So they would have been criticized for that. Again, though, the issue is adding something like that doesn't take away all the problems of the prequels. And keep in mind, there are a lot of people who like the prequels, which is great. But there's me and a lot of others who really hate the prequels. And the problems with those prequels still exist and are there, even with the addition of another character like that. So I don't know that it would have made, I'll be honest with you, I don't know that it would have made much of a difference. Some other people feel differently, and that's great. I'm not sure there would have been much of a difference. Nathan Oswald writes, besides Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., do you think it was a good idea to kill off Coulson so early in the MCU? Well, that's all in hindsight. Characters are there to be used to service the story. Stories are not there to service characters. And if the death of Coulson served the story, then yes, it was a good idea to kill him. Look, I love Clark Gregg, and I love that character. He's the only reason I was able to watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because I think that show's terrible. I hate that show. But I kept watching because of Clark Gregg as Agent Coulson. I love him, and I think he's great. But I've tapped out. I haven't watched anything of this season. I'm not going to watch this season. I gave up on it at the end of last season. I just can't take it anymore. At any rate. So, yeah, if the characters are there to serve the story, And if the death of that character served the story, which it did in Avengers, then that's what you do. So yes, it was a good idea to kill him off at the time. Dirk Diggler writes, I'm going to give Batwoman a chance, but I have a feeling that the producers are going to make Batman a jobber to Batwoman. Well, there's no evidence of that right now, so let's not worry about that until something actually, because there's no evidence of that right now. That was one of two. Dirk continues, for example, the trailer shows a woman speaking to the crowd, I'm guessing that was the mayor, saying Batman has given up on us. Batman would never do that, in which time has shown Batman an aging hero to Gotham. So I sense that the writers for Batwoman are going to narratively make Batman the jobber for Batwoman. I think you completely, I'll be honest with you, Dirk, I think you're completely misinterpreting that scene. You know, you have a mayor saying, Batman has abandoned us. Now, you can sit there and say, Batman would never do that. That's fine. The people of Gotham don't know that. There's clearly a mystery here that they set up in the Arrowverse crossover this past season. The mystery is, even Batwoman doesn't know where Batman went. Batman and Bruce Wayne just disappeared. They just disappeared. From the perspective of Gothamites, people who are just living in Gotham, he's been gone for years. It looks to them like he's abandoned them. He up and left. Even Batwoman doesn't know where he is. Now, your natural assumption is, oh, they're going to make it so Batman is just some guy who gave up on them. I didn't interpret that at all from that scene. My interpretation of that mystery is that Batman left for a damn good reason. There's something that compelled him to go. Either it's because he had to get out of Gotham to save it, or there's something he had to go to do to save it or the world, for all we know. Batman had to go. You know that as the audience member. I know that as the audience member. The people of Gotham don't know that. So from their perspective, it looks to them like Batman has abandoned them. That Batman has split. Like, if in the crossover event, you know, they run into Batwoman and she's like, you know, Batman's my cousin. He just couldn't take this city anymore. And he decided to leave. And he decided, you know what, you take it over and you protect the city. I've had it. I can't take it anymore. If that had happened, then I would totally see where you're coming from. But the fact of the matter is, even she doesn't know where he is. To me, that's going to be part of the major underlying mystery of that Batwoman show. So, I hate what they do to Superman and Superwoman, in Supergirl, I mean. And I would hate it even more if they did that exact same thing in Batwoman. But what they've set up, it doesn't feel to me like that's what they're doing. It feels more to me like they've set up the main underlying thing is this mystery. Where's Batman? And it's not going to be the main point of the show, but that's going to be an underlying B storyline going throughout is why did Bruce leave? I'm going to guess at some point Batwoman's going to pick up on a trail that Bruce was on, and she will eventually discover why Batman left, or where he is right now, or what he's doing. Hell, for all we know, he's off with the Monitor. Maybe the Monitor showed up and talked to him a few years ago, much like he showed up and talked to Oliver. I don't know that. I'm just pulling something out of my ass at this point. But so far, I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt right now because I haven't seen anything that suggests to me that they're going to make Batman a jobber to Batwoman. I haven't seen anything that proves that at this point. The stuff they have shown, I believe, is suggesting an underlying mystery that we will get to in time. So that's how I'm approaching it right now, Dirk, at any rate. All right, Richard Karate writes, have you heard the rumor about Henry Cavill being the favorite of Wolverine? Yeah, it's all BS. It's all BS. And there's another rumor that Jax Teller, Sons of Anarchy boy, why am I freezing on his name? That he's going to be Wolverine. Blah, blah, blah. They're years away from doing anything with Wolverine. Would Henry Cavill be a good Wolverine? Hell yes, he would. He's a great actor. As would any good actor would be a good Wolverine. But any rumors, like Kevin Feige just came out and let everybody know we are years away from anything X-Men related. So I really don't see that they're casting Wolverine right now, so I don't believe it. Is it possible? Of course it's possible. But I pay no attention to that whatsoever right now. None. Okay. Where are we at here? We are down to Star Killer, who writes, would you watch the whole Dragon Ball series for $10,000? I didn't hate Dragon Ball. I don't like it. It's not for me, but I didn't hate it. So you want to pay me $10,000 to watch it? Hell yes, I'll do that. Heck, I'll probably do it for $1,000. I'm Upset writes, over under 30% will see Steel in the DCU. I'm going to go ahead and take the under on that. Richard Karate writes, thoughts on the movie Dog Soldiers? That's a movie with Kevin McKidd in it, who's most notably from Grey's Anatomy, but he's also, Kevin McKidd also did the voices, one of the main Mandalorian's voices in Star Wars Rebels. Anyway, I only think I saw it the once, and I don't think I enjoyed it that much, if I remember. It's been a long time, but I don't think I remember enjoying it that much. Rich Karate also writes, thoughts on the movie In the Name of the King? It ain't the worst Uwe Boll movie. I'll say that. In the Name of the King, a Dungeon Siege Tale, it's not the worst Uwe Boll movie. And it's got a hell of a cast. Like from Jason Statham, Ray Liotta, Burt Reynolds, Matt Illard, Lily Sabinsky, I always forget how to pronounce her name. It's actually got a pretty good cast, and it's not good. I'll say this. It's not good, but it might be his best movie. Out of all the garbage that Uwe Boll has made, it's probably his best movie. And I'll say this, it's not a dumpster fire. It's not good, but it's not a dumpster fire. It's really the only movie of his I can say that about. It's not a dumpster fire. So anyway, that's my thoughts on that. Let's see. Senior Eric writes, the highest compliment I can give John Wick 3 is that its action is on the same level as Kill Bill Volume 1, and in some senses slightly above. I'll tell you what, Senior Eric, I'm unapologetic about this. I think the action is better in John Wick than it is in Kill Bill. I'm not slighting Kill Bill at all. That's taking nothing away from Kill Bill. But I thought the action in John Wick 3 was even better than the action in Kill Bill. That's just me. But I am just floored. I've only seen the movie twice so far. I need to go back and see it again. Whereas I've seen Kill Bill probably about 7 or 8 times now. But I need to watch John Wick a few more times. But I am just, woo! I'm blown away by that action, man. I'm blown away by that action. All right, David Goldstein writes, saw your Twitter post. Are you going to be working with Christian Harloff again? No. I was very clear in my post that we were just having lunch. Like, this is the thing. So Harloff and I don't know why people... Christian and I have remained, we talk, we get together, like, and there are some people who start rumors online, like, do you hear Harloff and Campea hate each other? It's like, what? And then me and Christian, anyway. So I just popped up a picture because we went out to lunch the other day. And just to be clear, like I put in just lunch, like just having lunch, but I was inundated with people asking me stuff. Are you guys working together again? No. We are not working together again. We were just having lunch, as we do. It's not the only time we've had lunch. We've had lunch many times. I live, like he works and I live very close to each other. It's very easy for us to get together for lunch, but no, we're not planning on working together again anytime soon. So no, just put that to rest. Anyway, Jack Leo writes, how'd you know she was a Nazi? Oh, I love that part. She talks in her sleep. Happy 30th anniversary to The Last Crusade. My God, I love that scene. First of all, it is my favorite Indiana Jones movie. Last Crusade is absolutely my favorite Indiana Jones movie. There's just something, they just brought it all together so perfectly. I love that. But yes, that scene when she's talking to them, she talks in her sleep and like Harrison had his dad's sloppy seconds. There's something great about that. But that whole movie is just filled with these amazing moments like that. Still the funniest moment. One of my personal top 10 funniest moments in movie history, but certainly the funniest moment in any of the Indiana Jones. You'll never. I don't remember the exact lines, but it's basically, you'll never find Marcus. He'll blend in. He'll disappear. He knows 14 languages and the customs and cultures of every country in the world. You'll never find him. And then a quick cut to Marcus in the city square. Hello, does anybody speak English? It is one of the funniest scenes, one of the best cut edits ever in the history of movies. I just die every time that scene plays. Love that movie. So thanks for bringing that up, Jack. All right. Christopher James writes, if George R. R. Martin finishes his Game of Thrones series in his upcoming book and vastly changes the ending, isn't the books considered canon over the TV show? No, they're two completely different things. First of all, remember, he already told the TV guys where it was going, and they kind of based it around where he said it was going. But remember, there have been big differences between the books and the shows all along. Certain characters died in TV that didn't die in the books, and there have been differences throughout. It's not a question of, are the books canon or TV canon? The answer is neither. They're two different things. The books are one thing, TV's another thing. It's like Lord of the Rings. Well, Tom Bombadil is in the books, so is that canon? Well, the books are its own canon. The movies are its own canon. There's the book canon, there's movie canon. It's different from Star Wars, which has always been a movie. And then novels came out to reflect the movies, but that's a different thing altogether. But yeah, I would say neither is the answer to that. The books are the books, the show's the show. Neither are the one true canon. They're two different things. And the shows are better anyway. Ryan Lohner writes, yesterday's new Magnum PI's Indiana Jones post was a joke about how Tom Selleck was going to be Indy. Oh yeah, I could see that. Julius Goodwin writes, it's time we forgive Star-Lord for his part in Infinity War, as even with the power of Captain Marvel, the Avengers, and a superhero army, Thanos still almost did the snap. They may not have escaped Titan in the first place. And by the way, it's a really big super chat, Julius. Thank you for supporting the channel that way. Here's what I've always said about that. Anybody blaming Star-Lord that's a dumb thing to do. It wasn't Star-Lord's fault. Star-Lord did what anybody else did. By the way, I always make this comparison, and people say, John, that's not the same thing. No, it is the same thing. Here's the comparison. Captain America Civil War, right? It comes down to one of those final scenes where you got Bucky, Cap, and Iron Man. Iron Man just found out it was Bucky who killed his parents. Steve makes the completely logical argument to him that wasn't his fault. He was being being controlled. That wasn't him that did it. And to which Tony says the big line, I don't care, he killed my mom. And that's a great line, but it's a thing where faced with a very painful emotional truth, a character, despite the fact that logic would talk them out of it, a character does something based on emotion. Tony in Civil War should have gone, you're right, it wasn't his fault. Someone was forcing him to do that beyond his control, that he didn't have the ability to resist. It's not his fault. That was the logical, sane, rational thing that Tony should have done. But the thing is, as human beings and as human characters, sometimes emotions get the best of us. And despite the fact that all the logic in the world was staring Tony in the face saying it wasn't his fault, as a human being and as a flesh and blood character, the emotion of, I don't care, he killed my mom, and he got into a fight to the death with Captain America over it, right? That is the exact same thing as what happened to Star-Lord. Yes, you're in a very logical situation. Hey, just keep your cool and we're going to have the glove off this guy in a second. He just found out that the only love he's ever had in his life, that this guy in front of you murdered her, and you just found that out, and it was his fault. He chose to murder her. Yes, all the logic in the world is screaming in Peter's face, whoa, just keep your cool here, buddy. Just keep your cool here. Like, we almost got the glove off. Everything's going according to plan. Just reel it in for now, buddy. That's what all logic in the world was telling him to do. But as a flesh and blood human character, he was just faced with a painful emotional truth. This dude, he just found out, number one, that Gamora was dead. Tony knew his parents were dead for decades. Peter just found out that Gamora's dead, and he did it. And so he reacted. That's the one reason why nobody ever should have blamed Star-Lord in the first place. The second reason nobody should blame Star-Lord is because of what Doctor Strange said. He said, I have seen millions of possible outcomes. Only one do we win. Out of the millions that I saw, only one outcome do we win. That means this. Had Star-Lord not punched Thanos in the face when he did, then the good guys lose. The one scenario in which they win included Peter punching him in the face. If Peter had done something different, then it would have been one of the other alternate futures, and therefore the good guys would have lost. So, number one, characters are human. They do emotional things. We saw Tony do it in Civil War. We saw him do it here, so we should cut him some slack. Number two, had he not done that, then we would have been in another potential future that Doctor Strange saw where we don't win, where we lose, where the human race loses. So had Star-Lord not punched him in the face, there's no end game. Everybody loses, right? So, I have been yelling since Infinity War, Julius, that we should not be blaming Star-Lord. It makes no logical sense to blame Star-Lord. And you're only blaming Star-Lord if you don't really think it out. Because once you think it out, you realize, yeah, can't blame Star-Lord. So that's where I've always been, Julius. Good point. Anyway, let's see, where are we at here? Chris Feldman writes, did you ever see The Outsiders? Yeah, one of the most iconic casts in history. Great director, great cast, love the novel it was based on, but the movie fell flat for me. I wish I knew why. I actually love The Outsiders. Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, I believe Timothy Dalton's in there. Francis Ford Coppola directed. I mean, it's a who's list. When you go down the cast of The Outsiders, it's an amazing cast. I've always liked it. That's now maybe it's because I saw it when I was like, I didn't see it the year it came out. I was too young to see it, but I saw it a few years later, probably on VHS. And I don't know what it was, but it did click for me. It worked for me. Not one of my top 20 all-time greatest films or anything like that, but I've always really liked it and it worked for me. But that's the subjectivity of film, right, Chris? I mean, there are films that work better for me than they will for other people. Some films that'll work better for you than they do for me, whatever. But it's certainly not a movie that everybody loves, by no stretch of the imagination. But I do got to admit, it really did work for me. I like The Outsiders quite a bit. Good on you. Might be the first person to bring up The Outsiders in the show, Chris. Well done. All right, Richard Karate writes, for $100 million, would you rather fight Undertaker in a Hell in the Cell match or Daniel Cormier in the Octagon? Oh, I'll fight Daniel Cormier in the Octagon. Yeah. Number one, what an honor. What an incredible honor. Number two, the moment I do this, fight's over. The moment I do this, fight's over. You do a Hell in the Cell match with The Undertaker? I'm sorry. I know what professional wrestling is, but have you seen the Hell in the Cell match between Undertaker and Mankind? Have you seen that? What happens to Mankind in that Hell in the Cell match, I would rather fight Daniel Cormier, because I'll recover faster from whatever Daniel Cormier does to me than I will than what happens to you. You will be thrown off of 20-foot steel. There's no faking that. You will be thrown from a 20-foot tall steel cage through tables onto a concrete floor. You will have your own teeth. I remember the close-up of Mankind, or Mick Foley is his real name, when he got thrown off that steel cage. I still can't believe they did that. And the close-up, a tooth, like there was something in his nose. What's in his nose? Oh my God, it's one of his teeth. A tooth busted up through his lip and went into his nose, and his tooth was sticking there in his nose. I'm like, ah! I'd never seen anything like that. So, I'll take the fight with Daniel Cormier. I can do this, and whatever Daniel does to me, I'll recover from faster than whatever it is the Undertaker does to me, even in a choreographed, predetermined ending match, like a professional wrestling match. I will still recover quicker from a Daniel Cormier fight. So yeah, I'll take that. I'll take that. All right, Sharan Aurora writes, saw Kung Pao enter the fist for the first time. Wow. Yeah, I've got friends of mine who just adore, and it is a pretty great poster, but I've got friends of mine who adore that movie. I've always just thought it was kind of dumb. I don't, and I've got friends of mine who love this movie. I always found it kind of dumb. Never really quite worked for me, but hey, that's what it is. Taki75 writes, I'm relatively new around here, so can you please explain in a few words why there was such backlash when Ben Affleck was cast as Batman? Thanks. I mean, the basic of it, look, everybody has their own reasons, but the basic gist of this, Geely. Ben Affleck, it's kind of like the Robert Pattinson situation. Ben Affleck did a couple of really bad things, and he kind of became known for that. But then he did a few things where he was really good, but the thing is, nobody really watched those movies. Like, for instance, Ben's got this movie with Samuel L. Jackson called Changing Lanes, which is remarkable. I love it. And Ben Affleck is so freaking good in it. He's so good. If you haven't seen it, Changing Lanes, I think it's a brilliant movie. Looking at like the human condition and our behavioral patterns and things like that. And how we respond to anger, and how anger begets anger, and it just takes us down a path. Anyway, it's about these two guys whose paths just cross each other on the wrong day. And anyway, it's brilliant. I love this movie. But most people never saw it. So like I said, it's like the Robert Pattinson thing. Robert Pattinson has done a bunch of movies that he is brilliant in since Twilight, but nobody ever saw them. And so when they think of Robert Pattinson, they think, oh, the Twilight boy. And that's kind of what happened with the Ben Affleck thing. And that's why I had seen those newer Ben Affleck movies. I have seen him evolve and develop. And so that's why when they announced Ben Affleck as Batman, I'm like, right on, sign me up. I love it. Love it. Make Ben Affleck Batman. He'll be great as Batman. And he was. But that's the basic gist of it. There's a few movies he did in his past that he probably regrets doing. But yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. Anyway, I'm sure that's a discussion worthy of a 4-hour breakdown, and a lot of different people will give a lot of different opinions. That's just mine off the top of my head. Chris Feldman writes, are you off Monday for Memorial Day, or is the John Campea Show on? The John Campea Show is on, as a matter of fact, on Monday. There is going to be a John Campea Show on Monday. Thank you for asking, Chris. The Ryan Loner writes, my way of recommending Doom Patrol, say it has the line, the butts are loose, and when they ask if it makes sense in context, just laugh. I'm not going to spoil anything. I'm not going to give anything away. But when you do finally watch Doom Patrol, remember the line that Ryan just said, the butts are loose, and just prepare yourself. This is a wacky show that deals with serious, real-world issues in the most maniacal, bonkers, twisted ways you can possibly imagine, and I love it. I'm loving Doom Patrol. Anyway, Curtis Lopez writes, I know it's early, but I'm thinking the song that Jasmine sings, Speechless in Aladdin, might get nominated for Best Song. Naomi Scott killed it. It probably will. It'll get nominated. I don't know if it'll win, and we got a lot of movies still to come this year. It is early, but I'm telling you what, I've always liked Naomi Scott. And I like the cat. When they announced her as Jasmine, I'm like, yeah, she'll be pretty good. I thought she was great as Jasmine. And oh my God, when she sings. Here's the only problem with Naomi Scott in this movie. Is that you got this kid, Mina Massoud, playing Aladdin, who I believe did a really good job. And Mina Massoud, compared to you and me, is a pretty solid singer. Compared to you and me. He's a pretty solid singer. He's a decent little singer. And he's singing the songs. And I'm enjoying listening to him sing. But then the problem is Naomi Scott is such a strong singer that, you know, the song Whole New World. So when it comes to the scene of doing a whole new world, you know, Aladdin sings the first few lines, right? So Mina Massoud singing the first few lines of A Whole New World, and he's singing the song first and blah, blah, blah. It's like, that sounds all right. And then all of a sudden, Naomi Scott comes in, a whole new world, and like just with power level, 10. And it's like all of a sudden, Mina Massoud, who sounded perfectly fine to us a minute ago, all of a sudden is like, suddenly that kid doesn't sound so good now that we're hearing what a real legit singer sounds like. And that's the problem with Naomi Scott, is that her singing is so strong and so good that it kind of made Mina Massoud, it diminished Mina Massoud a little bit, right? Like you look at me and you think, oh my God, and I understand you all do this. It's perfectly fine. It's a normal human reaction. You guys look at me and you say, my God, what a handsome man John Campea is. I know, and I'm humbled. I'm humbled that you would think that. Thank you. It's true. I'm a handsome man. But suddenly, if I were to move over here, and I don't know, you put Sam Witwer in here, or you put like an actual real handsome man beside me, suddenly I don't look so good, right? And of course I'm being facetious here, but it's that's kind of the one problem with Naomi Scott in that movie is that she's such a good singer. It kind of devalues the singing other people do in the movie, which is too bad, but whatever. I really liked Aladdin, by the way. I honestly, the last I checked, it dropped all the way down to, let me just double check this. Aladdin, Rotten Tomatoes. Let me see. It dropped all the way down to 57 last I checked, and it's still at 57. 57%. I honestly don't get it. I don't get it. Look, is this movie as good as the original Aladdin animated movie? No. But I don't need it to. I honestly don't understand this score. Now, granted, 57% means the majority of the critics like it. Great. But I don't get why more of them don't. I find this to be a very delightful movie. And you guys know I was skeptical. Disney lifting the review ban the day before. I thought, there we go. This one's not going to work. I thought it was a delightful little movie that was enjoyable. Anna's been singing the damn music for days now since we saw it. I just thought it deserved better. And Naomi Scott's one of the good reasons for that. Anyway, Blu-ray Billy writes, just saw Rocket Man, really enjoyed it. I'm very excited about seeing that. Hear nothing but good things about it. Yeah, and ever since I heard Taron Egerton just actually belted out singing on stage with Elton John, I'm like, oh my God, I got to see this. Like, I'm excited for it. The Canon writes, while talking about Mount Rushmore of iconic / popular superheroes, someone said Iron Man is way over Spider-Man. This is the issue with MCU Spidey. I don't know what you mean by that. First of all, in the MCU, yeah, Iron Man is over Spider-Man, no doubt. Zero question about that. As far as comic book characters go and the overall pop cultural zeitgeist, Spider-Man has always been one of the most popular characters in the world. Spider-Man's always been one of the most popular comic book characters in the world. So I wouldn't say that. But if you're talking in terms of the MCU, then yeah. Look, Captain America isn't even in my top 20 favorite comic book characters. But in the MCU, he's absolutely my favorite character. Absolutely my favorite character in the MCU. So you got to differentiate MCU from comic books. And if you are making that distinction, then yeah, I can see why somebody would say Iron Man is way over Spider-Man. He is clearly the more prominent character and more popular character in the MCU than Spider-Man is. So I agree with that. The Canon writes, your preference, Lion King versus Incredibles. Easy, Lion King. Because Lion King to me is the greatest animated film of all time. It's my all-time favorite one. I love The Incredibles, but I'll give it to Lion King over The Incredibles all day. Luke1234 writes, would you rather see a sequel to Step Brothers, Mystery Men, or True Lies? Well, it's a little late for True Lies. So I'll take that one out of the running. But I've always wanted a True Lies sequel, but I'll take that one out of the running for now. Oh, I'll go Mystery Men. I would give a lot to see a Step Brothers sequel, but I've been waiting for so long for Mystery Men, and you can still do it because the type of story that it is with all the exact same characters. Yeah, I would. Yeah, if I got to pick one, you know, if all the heads of the studios called me and said, "Hey, John, we're all just having lunch here, and we talked about let's do a sequel to one of our movies." And we're all just discussing which one. And we thought we'd give you the deciding vote, Campea. Which one do you want? We can either do Step Brothers, Mystery Men, or True Lies. I'll probably go Mystery Men. Yeah. Especially in today's era. I would love to see a Mystery Men. I would love to see what they do with that now. All right, Starkiller. Speaking of Sam Witwer. Starkiller writes, Kill Bill or John Wick, which are the better movies? I mean, that's really up for your own interpretation. As far as action goes, John Wick has the better action, in my opinion. As the overall movie, see, it's tough because I actually don't like Kill Bill Volume 2 as much as I do Kill Bill Volume 1. I would probably say out of all the John Wick and Kill Bill movies combined, I think the strongest overall movie is probably Kill Bill Volume 1. The action is better in John Wick, in my opinion, but as an overall movie, I would say Kill Bill Volume 1 is probably the strongest out of all the movies out of the John Wick and Kill Bill lore, so that's where I would go with that. Roman Bryant writes, I meant which state is Gotham City located in yesterday? Do me a favor, guys. If you're going to write in and reference something you wrote previously, give me some kind of indication of what we're just talking about, because we go through a lot of these questions. I don't always remember. I think I remember what you're talking about, Roman. What state is Gotham in? Good question. One of the big differences between DC and Marvel is that Marvel will actually say New York City, Chicago, blah, blah. DC goes different. They make up fictitious names. You know, we're in Star City, or we're in Champion City, or we're in Gotham, or we're in Metropolis, or we're in wherever, right? So I don't know. I was about to say, I don't know if they'd actually have the real names for states either, but Smallville is Smallville, Kansas. So my guess is that Gotham is in New York. That just seems to make sense to me. Gotham would be in the state of New York. I'm guessing. I don't know that for sure, but that would be my guess. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, between Bohemian Rhapsody and Rocketman, I have no idea what to think of John Reed. I guess the real guy is somewhere in the middle. Now, I haven't seen Rocketman yet. Of course, now John Reed was the one-time manager of Queen, who was portrayed by, I forget the actor's name, but by Littlefinger from Game of Thrones. And he was summarily, unfortunately, dismissed. He was done dirty in the movie. But then apparently that same character, he was also a manager for Elton John for a long time. So I haven't seen Rocketman yet, so I don't know how they portray him in that one at all. I know in real life, Elton John and him had a falling out, and there was a lawsuit involved and all that kind of stuff, but I don't know how he's portrayed in the movie, so I can't really say. But it's interesting that you got this character in both of these prominent movies. All right, Thunder Knight writes, I was slightly disappointed that Game of Thrones didn't have one scene with Arya and Daenerys. Just imagine the tension there. Yeah, but you can't do everything. You got so many characters and so many scenarios, you can't do them all. And I really don't know what there is to say between Arya and Dany. Really, if there was a scene with Arya and Dany, there probably would have been no dialogue. It just would have been Arya sneaking up behind her and slitting her throat in her sleep. Probably. But there's a million other different combinations of possible scenes and characters we could have seen that they didn't, and they just wouldn't have had time for it. But there's that. But it would have been intriguing. It would have been intriguing, Thunder Knight. Hector Jeter writes, better horse chase scene, John Wick 3 or True Lies? Ooh. True Lies. I'm going to go True Lies. I just love this scene when Arnold's like chastising the horse. What kind of a cop are you? We had him. You let him get away. I do a terrible Arnold Schwarzenegger, by the way. We had him. You let him get away. What kind of cop are you? I loved it. But I'm going to go with that. You know, he runs in the elevator, taking the elevator up with the horse. It's just, the John Wick horse chase scene is great, but I'm going to give the nod to True Lies. All right. Richard Karate writes, will we get a Bad Santa 3? Your thoughts? I don't think we will. I don't think we will. And honestly, I thought the second Bad Santa was kind of a step down. Let me just bring this up here. And I also don't think it made any money. I remember it not making any money. So let me just double check. Bad Santa 2, which came out in 2016. Grand total, worldwide, made $17 million. This movie lost the studio a lot of money. Production budget of $26 million, which probably means in the neighborhood, they probably lost about $20 million on this movie. They probably lost $20 million. Worldwide, made $17.7 million. Yeah, that's not something screaming for a sequel, so I'm going to guess no on that. Richard, and I didn't even think it was all that good. At least nowhere near as good as the original. Richard Karate writes, with studios reluctant to make comic book movies because if their failure, with studios reluctant to make comic book movies because if their failure, with studios reluctant to make comic book movies because if their failure, do you think we could see a Saints Row movie? Oh, you're probably saying with studios reluctant to make, by the way, studios are not reluctant to make comic book movies. I'm going to guess you meant video game movies. With studios reluctant to make video game movies because of their, wrong there, by the way, because of their failure, do you think we could see, as a matter of fact, we just talked on the John Campea Show a couple weeks ago, they are, the rights for Saints Row movies has been picked up. It is being developed. Doesn't mean it's going to happen, but they are developing it. So we do know that they are developing a Saints Row movie as we speak. Whether or not it gets the official green light, who knows, but they are in the process of developing it right now. All right. The Canon writes, Do athletes playing in LA really help movie deals? You mean movie deals for themselves? Oh, it certainly helps if you're in LA where everybody is. Also, a lot of athletes want to play in big major market cities. Because if you're playing in big market cities, you have higher profile. The higher your profile is, the bigger your value is for endorsements and all that kind of stuff. Which is why Kevin Durant wanted to get out of Oklahoma. He wanted to get out of OKC because he wanted to play in a bigger market. So he goes to California, joins the already best NBA team in the league and makes them even better. This is why people go to New York and go to LA, and it helps. It helps if you're actually physically in the town where all that stuff happens. It helps. It doesn't guarantee anything, but it helps. Matsive Jada writes, nothing for Tarantino in Cannes. Nothing for Tarantino in Cannes. I don't know what it is you're asking, Matsive. Sorry about that. Chris Feldman writes, which actor was your favorite Batman, least favorite? Well, my favorite was Ben Affleck. Now, you're not asking me which of the actors that played Batman, who is the best actor? Well, that's Christian Bale, probably. Of course, George Clooney is up there. Michael Keaton is up there. I'd probably say Christian Bale. Who did I like as Batman the most? That'll be Ben Affleck. Who is my least favorite? I'll be honest with you. While I did not like all the movies, I did like all of them individually as Batman. I maybe Val Kilmer, but I like, even though I'm not a huge fan of the movie, I kind of liked him as Bruce Wayne and Batman. So I'm not really sure, but easily my favorite is Ben Affleck. The Canon writes, my last thought. The message isn't always as important as how you deliver it. Wonder Woman gave you representation without forcing it like Supergirl. I think that is what some people are hung up on. Look, I'll say this, Canon. I don't see a rational reason or a legitimate reason why anybody should be hung up on any of it. You know, I hate the Supergirl show, but the only reason I hate the Supergirl show, besides the fact that it's just not a very good show, is the fact that I hate what they do to Superman. Superman is the king of all superheroes, but every chance they get, they belittle Superman and diminish him every chance they get. And that bothers the hell out of me. However, Supergirl is also a show that completely separately is constantly talking about the equality of women. Is it forced? Yeah, it's forced. Is it sometimes a bit overbearing? Yeah, sometimes it's a bit overbearing. But that doesn't bother me. Why should it bother me? No, seriously. You can sit there and say, man, they really force that in that show. And I can go, okay, yeah, they do, but why is that a problem? Seriously, why is that a problem? I quite often say, there are times in my life where something bothers me and I have to stop and look at myself in the mirror. And believe me, I have to do this. I look in the mirror and I ask myself, okay, Campea, this one, whatever this thing is, there's a thing here that's bothering me. And I got to look in the mirror and I say, John, why is this bothering you? Why does it bother you? Like, yes, this, and this are happening, but ultimately, why is that bothering me? Why is that triggering this harsh, negative emotional response in me? Why is that bothering me? Is it actually doing anything to the movie or the show or a relationship or something else that's going on in my real world? Is it actually doing anything? Or is it just there and it's bothering me? And if that's the case, why is it bothering me? What is it about me that this stuff is bothering me? And I said this to a friend of mine once. We were talking about something and an issue came up and I had to say to him, I say, okay, but wait a minute. Everything you just said is true, but why does it bother you? Honestly, why does it bother you? And I know this isn't popular, but you know me, I never give a flying F if something I say is popular or not. When it comes to, if there's bad action in a movie, most people will just go, oh, the action wasn't all that great. We don't get mad about it. If jokes in a movie aren't great, we go, they didn't make me laugh. We don't get mad about it. But if a female character says something female empowering, maybe even to a detrimental thing to men, why do we get angry at that? It's just something I just don't understand at this point. Maybe it fits in the movie, maybe it doesn't. Maybe it fit the character, maybe it didn't. Maybe it's good, maybe it's bad. Why do we get angry at it? And I've had to challenge friends of mine and say, let me ask you something. Look in the mirror. Ask yourself, why does this, a bad joke didn't make you get mad. Why does this make you mad? Because honestly, women, for a century that Hollywood has been around, women have been mistreated, misrepresented, all this used as eye candy. Blah, they have put up with a lot of BS for a century. And we're in an era now where we are finally starting to become a little bit more enlightened. And so if in a couple of movies or a couple of shows, there's a female character taking some of that back, maybe it doesn't work for us. Maybe it's overplayed. They didn't play it all right. It doesn't make the movie work. Doesn't make the TV show work. That's fine. But why do we get angry at it? What's with that emotion? Because look, I don't like the Supergirl show. I just think it's a bad show, and I hate what they do with Superman. But all the stuff they do in Supergirl with positively talking about women. And what's wrong with girl? I'm a girl. Girls are as powerful as this. Or Lois Lane is talking to Kara and saying, you know, it's shown that women can handle more emotional stress than men can and blah, blah. Okay, it's a little over the top and it's forced, fine. But why would I get angry at that? Why would a man get angry at that unless there were some other issues within that man? And I know I'm going off on a totally different direction and stuff like this. I just think people choose. There are some guys, some, not all, not even the majority. I believe there are some guys who are just frankly insecure in their masculinity, that any suggestion of that, it triggers this emotional response. And they get defensive and they get angry and it's like, why are you getting angry? Because maybe the issue is something with you and not with the movie. And maybe it works in the movie and maybe it doesn't work in the movie. But when other things don't work in the movie, I don't see you getting defensive and angry, but this does. And if that's doing that to you, brother, I got to ask, why? Anyway, it's an ongoing thought process that I have looking at our culture and our society. And look, I may have a totally different perspective in 3 months. Maybe I do. I don't know. I'm not sold on my own perspective. I'm like the vast majority of you guys, where I'm looking at this phenomena happening, and I'm just in the midst of processing it myself, figuring out, why do people get so mad at this? Like what? Anyway, but so I can have my mind changed. That's just kind of where my thoughts at right now. So anyway, that's just me. BJ Bonifacio writes, over under 60% Warriors could three-peat without KD. Over 66%. They won titles without him. They won them without him before. They can win them without him now. Although he's probably only going to miss a game or two. But they do, if Toronto gets to them, they're going to have their hands full with Toronto. I'm going to tell you that. BMC writes, I've noticed a few movies on home video have an aspect ratio switch in certain sequences. Is it hard to make the whole movie 178 on home release? I'm not really sure. That's a technical question. That's never really been an area of mine, so I'm not really sure. It's a good question. That would have been a good question for Rob, because Rob's worked in that area before. It's a good question, because you're right. I have also noticed sometimes in some home movies, aspect ratios would change. Actually, even in the theaters that happens, right? Dark Knight, the movie switched back and forth. It switched between aspect ratios from time to time in the movie, if you notice that. And that wasn't even home video. So I'm not really sure. It's a good question, BMC, but I really don't know. But if any of you guys know the answer to that, fire it off in the comment section below and tag BMC in it so he can see that answer, because I'd be curious to see that as well. All right, I'm going to take one more question, and then we're going to take a short break. We've been going a little bit over an hour now. I need to refill my drink and just rest my voice for a minute. So we're going to take this one last question, then we're going to take a 5-minute break. All right. Hector Jeter writes, The Two Towers pretty much has the best opening scene. I can watch that fight with Gandalf and the Balrog. I smote his ruin upon the mountainside. one of the greatest lines ever. I can watch that fight with Gandalf and the Balrog as they were falling on loop all day. I did love it. But man, I mean, the openings to all the Lord of the Rings films, I mean, the opening with the flashback to the Second Age, with the war between elves, with elves and men uniting to take on Sauron and the ringing, that's great. I mean, but it's true. That start to Two Towers is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. I love that. Okay, guys, I am now going to take a 5-minute break. If you guys see other people come along who are going, hey, wait a minute, where's the show? Just let them know John's just taking a brief break. I will be back in just a couple of minutes. Hang tight. We'll be right back. And we are back, guys. Thank you so much for your patience and letting me go and refill my drink and rest my voice for a minute. But we're back now, and let's get right back into it and get things starting up again here. And we're going to start with Artur Mansouri, who writes, and I'll turn off my AC because I know it's a little bit loud in the background there. Artur Mansouri writes, no one asked for a solo movie without Harrison Ford, just like nobody asked for Just like nobody asked for Avatar sequels, my guess is that Avatar sequels won't be $2 billion. Okay. Artur, listen. I'm going to treat you right now like you're one of my best buddies sitting at a bar with me, and we're going to get into it here, okay? But I mean this as you're my film fan brother, so take that as this, right? And because I would say to my best buddy sitting to me at a bar if we got into a conversation, we get into a passionate debate. Are you effing kidding me? Are you effing kidding me? Artur, seriously? Do you know how much screaming and demand there was for another Avatar movie? Maybe people in your circles, not so much, and that's fine. I'm not really panting for Avatar sequels either, but to deny saying nobody wanted this, you're insane. There's a reason that as of right now, Avatar is the biggest box office hit of all time. People have been screaming for this for years. Nobody asked for it, and then the last part, but nobody asked for it. My guess it won't even be a $2 billion. Since when is that? When has $2 billion become the measuring stick about whether something was really wanted, desired, and successful? I don't think it's going to be $2 billion, but seriously, that's your measuring stick? If it doesn't hit $2 billion, which only like 4 or 5 films in cinematic history have ever done, if it doesn't hit $2 billion, you're saying that means nobody wanted it at $2 billion. Guess what? I don't think the movie's going to make $2 billion either, but I guess nobody wanted Black Panther because it only made $1.3 billion. So I guess nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted it. Nobody wanted, heaven forbid, nobody wanted Spider-Man Homecoming. Nobody wanted another Spider-Man movie. It only made $800 and something million. Nobody wanted another What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Nobody wanted it. My guess it won't be a $2 billion. Okay, fine. Like I guess nobody wants another Avengers movie. I'm doubting it'll make $17 billion. Yeah. So if it doesn't hit $17 billion, nobody. What are you talking about? And I'm throwing you under the bus a little bit here, Artur. Believe me, this is all just in good nature. I'd be talking the same way to my best buddy at a bar if we were talking about this. But come on. Come on. Are you serious? Are you serious? Now, if you were talking about it's whatever many years later, and they're going to make another Avatar movie, but James Cameron isn't attached, and instead of the Na'vi, it's the Smurfs, and it's something they changed completely, things, blah, 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 you might be getting onto something, but yes, people have been screaming for more Avatar movies for a long time, and guess what? It doesn't have to hit $2 billion to prove that. I mean, look, Avatar 2 is going to be a $1 billion film. Which, by the way, only about 38, 39, 40 films in the history of Hollywood have ever made $1 billion. So, to say that nobody wants it is ridiculous. On top of that, to say the measuring stick to prove that nobody wants it is that you don't think it'll hit $2 billion. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous, brother. No, that's nonsensical. That's not, look, and I'm with you. I'm not really all that looking forward to an Avatar sequel myself. I'm curious about it. It's James Cameron, so I'm curious, but I'm not all that excited about it either. Like, I'm not. I also do not believe it will be a $2 billion film. Much like I don't believe Star Wars Episode 9 will be a $2 billion film. But $2 billion is not the measure. $2 billion is a measuring stick for amongst the most successful films, the elite of the elite of all time. It's not the measuring stick for about whether or not people wanted it. Because by saying that, you are by extension suggesting every film that has made $1 billion or more but didn't hit $2 billion, not really movies that people wanted. It's just, no, brother, no. And give you a shot in the arm as we're sitting at the bar saying, you're crazy, man, you're crazy. Absolutely not. I completely disagree with you on that. Anyway, JB Bonifacio writes, the World Health Organization has officially approved classifying video game addiction as a disease and will go into effect in 2022. Seriously? Well, I'm not... Look, a lot of things can be addicting. I've actually got a friend who has a younger brother, who they just can't get him away from video games. And it is an issue. Look, anything can become an addiction. It's cool to love things, but when your love of something becomes a serious psychosis and it becomes something that you become addicted to, you cannot be separated from it. That's a problem. Like even sex, which is the greatest thing in the world, sex can become an addiction, and it can make you do and act irresponsibly, and a lot of other it affects other areas of your life. And you know, when you've got a kid who's like sneaking around skipping school just so they can stay at home and play video games, refusing to have any social interaction with other people just so they can stay home and play video games, not doing their responsibilities just so they can stay home and play video games, that's alcoholism. Like when you are so hooked and addicted to something, and I've seen it, not a lot, but I've seen it, that it starts to affect all the relationships in your life and starts to affect other areas of your life. That's when it becomes a problem. And there is such thing as too much of a good thing. And yeah, I get it. Look, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't know all the ins and outs, but hearing that, if that's true, I wouldn't be surprised. Because I think a lot of us know, look, we all know people, there's loving video games and then there's something else. And there is a difference, right? Addiction is a crazy, harsh thing. Like we know people who love to drink, love a good drink, but there's a line between that and then there are people who are addicted to alcohol. And the effects become very clear. One is fine and great and healthy. One becomes very destructive, and I wouldn't be surprised. But again, I'm not a psychologist. Don't take anything I'm saying as if I had some sort of expertise. It's not. It's just my thoughts. Okay. AFC writes, inspired by the show, took my mom to Endgame, my third viewing. First film together since Harry Potter, and very nice. She loved it. Gonna make it a tradition for the MCU. I tell you what, I don't care if it makes me a mama's boy. I love going to the movies with my mom. I don't get to do it very often because she lives up, in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. I live down here in LA. So it's usually only about once or twice a year I get to do it. But I love doing it. It's my favorite thing. Good on you, AFC, for doing that, because it's a wonderful thing. I love bonding over movies. I just do. Neil Before Zimmer writes, will Disney ignore Harrison Ford's dislike of a new Indiana Jones? It all depends. I mean, I don't know if he's got rights. He actually may have rights in the movie for all I know. As a producer, he may have been negotiated having certain rights. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. It's impossible to say at this point. James Bonner writes, oh my God, Doom Patrol, what a hoot. I love it. I'm so glad you're enjoying it, James. Every time I watch this show, they do something in it where I go, I can't believe they're doing that in this show. I just don't know what it's got me hooked. It's completely got me hooked. I'm loving the show. And thank you to all you guys who turned me onto it and got me to check it out, because I thought it looked like a dumb show and I was going to watch it. And it's because a bunch of you guys kept telling me, John, this show's really good. You should check it out. And I'm so glad you did, because I freaking love this show now. Vault of the Future writes, Deadpool 3 pitch starts with the snap. All Fox X-Men characters die, and Deadpool is the only one to survive. Bob Iger is the one responsible. He is the main villain. Last battle starts with Deadpool saying, Avengers assemble, praying for the portals to open, yet to no available. End fight is Deadpool v. Iger at Iger's mansion with real lightsabers Iger had made. Ends with second snap, cutting Deadpool's 4 budget in half. Okay, look. First of all, Vault, that's never going to happen. But oh my God, I would want to watch that. I would watch that in a heartbeat. Yeah, so they are doing Deadpool 3. They confirmed to us at CinemaCon. They brought up Deadpool's picture the whole bit. They all confirmed that they're doing more Deadpool. But it's also not going to be MCU. So it's not going to be connected or attached to the MCU at all. The Deadpool movies are going to be made under Fox. So they confirmed that at CinemaCon. It's not a question anymore. Deadpool movies are going to be made under Fox, separate from the MCU. But what you just said sounds hilarious. I mean, oh my God, if you could actually get Bob Iger to be in there and to play the villain and to say, I actually had real lightsaber. I am falling a little bit in love with this idea, Vault. You're making me fall just a little bit in love with this idea. I think that sounds amazing. All right. Nate Smith writes, I'm depressed. A local theater in my town of Portland, Oregon called Cinetopia just got bought. They were so cool, and they take movie-going extreme. Yeah, you said this one of two, Nate. And I guess there's no 2 of 2. Okay. Well, that's always sad to hear, man. Look, I know what it's like to have a movie theater that you're really attached to, that you really like, and it gets bought. But who knows? If they just got bought, maybe they'll keep it the same. Maybe they won't. Depends who bought them, I guess. But hey, listen, at least, hopefully, it's still going to be a movie theater. Like, you know, Robert keeps telling this story about this place that was like his favorite movie theater in Seattle, and it got shut down and just bulldozed. And now something else is there entirely, right? Hopefully, it'll still be a movie theater. So keep our fingers crossed for you, Nate. All right, Richard Karate writes, better Brendan Fraser, Mummy movies, 1, 2, or 3. I'm going to go 1. Look, I think there was... 2 was 2. 2 was 2. I liked 3. But I think for me, the first one was still probably my favorite of his. Hector Jeter writes, on season 3 of episode 7 of Game of Thrones, I can't wait to see this red wedding in episode 9. Oh, I thought you said, my brain had season 7, episode 3. Right, okay. On season 3 of episode 7 of Game of Thrones, can't wait to see this red wedding in episode 9 that people have been raving about for years. Still have no idea what to expect. If you have no idea what to expect, then you've kept yourself pretty damn spoiler free. But it is one of the most shaking, jarring, talked about episodes of television in the history of the medium. It's just crazy. Just absolutely crazy. Anyway, Richard Karate writes, thoughts on the Robert De Niro Frankenstein movie? You know what? I didn't think it was all that bad. Of course, Kenneth Branagh is in there as well. Helena Bonham Carter stars in it well. I believe Coppola produced it, and Branagh actually directed the film, I believe. I believe he actually directed the film himself. Anyway, not great. But I actually didn't think all that bad, to be honest with you. Some people really don't like it, but it doesn't got bad ratings. And yeah, I thought it was okay. I thought it was pretty good. Rami J. Royster writes, is horror an underappreciated genre? No, I think horror has a very strong, although not huge, but a very strong following, very passionate following. And look, a lot of horror tours will tell you a lot of horror movies are terrible. Because horror movies, and I understand why, is really seen as a good place for a director to cut their teeth, because horror movies are generally easy to make. They're not easy to... Making horror movies is like playing poker. You can learn the saying about poker, which I'm going to go play in the World Series of Poker next week. I'm very excited about that. Anyway, what they say about poker is this. It's a game you can learn in 5 minutes. You can. You can learn to play poker in 5 minutes. And you're good. You can go play a casino or wherever you want to go play. You can play poker. You can learn poker in 5 minutes. But it takes a lifetime to master. And I think horror movie is a lot like that. A lot of like aspiring directors will cut their teeth trying to make like little horror films because they're generally pretty easy, an easy genre of movie to make. But to make them well, that's on a whole different level, right? So as a result, there's a lot of horror movies that get made that are just complete dreck. But it still has a very passionate following. So because of that passionate following, no, I don't think it's an underappreciated genre. Joshua Howard writes, thoughts on the movie Heartbreak Ridge? Not the best Clint Eastwood movie. It's solid. It's solid, but not the best. I always thought, though, that having Mario Van Peebles in the movie, that was an interesting choice. And I know they wanted to have a character type that was a complete juxtaposition against Clint Eastwood's character, but it did feel a little out of place to me. But overall, solid little movie, but definitely not amongst Clint Eastwood's best, in my opinion. Joshua Howard follows it up with, if he was about 40 years younger, would Clint Eastwood make a good Batman? Well, you guys, you know, I don't do, would X actor play good in X role questions? My only question is this, is the actor in question a good actor? If the actor's a good actor, then yes, that actor would make a good X role, whatever the role is. Clint Eastwood has always been a good actor. So would he have made a good Batman? Yes. As any actor who's a good actor would make a good Batman, I sure. Clint Eastwood falls into that category as well. Joshua Stevens writes, just watched and finished Black Summer. Pretty good zombie show. I'll be honest with you, I'm not even familiar with it, Joshua. Black Summer. Let me look this up here. Hold a second. Black Summer. It's a current one. Yeah, I've never even heard. I've never even heard of this. Oh, wait a minute. Of course I had. It's Jamie's movie. Oh my God. It's Jamie's show. I feel Jamie King. I feel Jamie King. Okay. I was thinking about something completely different. And now I feel it's a Netflix show and I haven't seen it yet. And here's why I especially feel bad. It's Jamie King's show, right? You know where I was last weekend? I was at Jamie King's birthday party last weekend, and my mind was, sometimes I do this, guys. Sometimes my mind is in a totally different place than where my body is, and I was thinking something completely different. I still haven't checked it out yet, though. I still haven't watched it. I feel particularly bad because Jamie's husband, Kyle Newman, I was just texting with him this week. He was in Hawaii. The two of them were in Hawaii with their kids, and I was just texting with them. And I haven't had a chance to start watching Black Summer yet, but I am going to get out of that. Anne has been actually championing that. And it's like, we got to watch this show. And it's like, we've just been trying to find time to sit down and do it. Because if you guys know me, I have a very difficult time. Anne and I can't start watching. Anne and I have a show we're supposed to watch together, I cannot start watching it without her. But it is very tricky with her schedule in mind for us to find time. That's why, even though I was dying to see Lucifer, season 4, I didn't start watching it till several days after it dropped because I can't watch it without Anne. And it was hard for us to get time that we can actually sit down. And Jamie's new show, Black Summer, that's a show that we said we were going to watch together, and we haven't had a chance to start doing that yet. So I need to get on that. And there you go. Now I feel really stupid about what I said initially. Anyway, where are we at here? Edgar Navarro writes, going to see Aladdin again with my nephew. He heard the music and instantly wanted to go see it. What do you think of Naomi's song Speechless? It's great. I'll say this, though. I will say this. When you listen to all the songs from the movie and then you listen to Speechless, Speechless doesn't really fit in. Like, it's a Sesame Street, one of these things is not like the other kind of, like, don't get me wrong, it fits in the movie, but whereas all the different songs in Aladdin feel like they came out of the same cauldron, Speechless feels like it came out of something completely different, you know? And maybe I'm only saying that because it's the new song, and therefore, no matter what new song they put in, maybe it would have felt out of place to me. That's totally valid. But on its own merits, the song is great, and she performs it great, and I really quite enjoy it. Anne's been playing it. Anne's been playing the entire soundtrack on loop every day, ever since we saw the movie, and I continue that too. I expect that to continue. All right, Suthius writes, hey, Mr. C, I have to say I didn't like the season finale of Doom Patrol. I thought, you know what? Sorry, Suthi, you're giving stuff away for a show that just aired, so I got to skip by it. Sorry about that, Suthius. All right, next one comes to us from Vince Carter of Mars, who writes, I could be wrong, but I believe diversity is an old it's an old wooden ship used in the Civil War era. Oh my God. It's an old one. Ron Burgundy, if I'm not mistaken. Ron Burgundy. Yeah, that's a good one. Zach J. Reviews writes, what was your experience watching Hereditary for the first time? Did it deeply unsettle you? And any other films that deeply unsettle you, horror or not? Well, there are several movies that really are unsettling. That are movies I've watched once and probably couldn't watch again. Hereditary, oddly enough, is not one of those. I saw Hereditary a couple of times, and I feel like I could watch it again. The car scene, though. Oh, my God. Anyway. But there are movies like Schindler's List. I don't know that I can ever watch Schindler's List again. There's a movie that was just out a year or two ago, Detroit, with John Boyega. And Anthony Mackie. I believe Anthony Mackie was in that. Anyway, I can't watch that movie again. I loved it, but there are just things in it that are so disturbing that were real. That I would just there are movies like that really just haunt me and are movies that I can love and adore, but I can go, but I can't watch that again. Just because shakes me like that. So those are just a couple off the top of my head, Zach. But no, oddly enough, Hereditary wasn't on that level to me. It was a great movie. And she should have gotten an Academy Award nomination for that, Toni Collette. But I never felt like it unsettled me to that degree like some of those other movies did. Joshua Stevens writes, do you think Keanu Reeves was better as Neo or John Wick? I actually think he's better as John Wick. I really do. I actually think I'm not saying the John Wick movies are better than Matrix. I'm not necessarily saying that. But if you're straight up asking me, do I think he was better as Neo or John Wick? I'm going to say I thought he was better as John Wick, actually. Vince Carter of Mars writes, seen Endgame 7 times now and I still love it. Well, hopefully you love it if you've gone to see it that many times. I have seen it 4. I keep saying I'm going to try to see it one more time, but you know what? I don't think I am. I think 4 might be it. I think 4 might be it. Now, I'll watch it many more times once it comes out on home video. Once it comes out on home video, I watch it many more times. But I think 4 might be my limit for going to see it in the theaters because I actually want to see John Wick 3 again. I actually want to see Aladdin again. We got John Wick coming up. We got Ma coming up. We got a lot of movies in theaters right now. And I still didn't see Brightburn. I was going to try to do that yesterday. I'm going to go do that this weekend. I still haven't seen Brightburn. So I've just got too many other movies. Like I've already seen Endgame 4 times. I can't justify it to myself spending another 3 hours in theater watching that when there are other movies that I've only seen once or haven't seen at all yet that I want to see. So I think I'm wrapped up on Endgame until it comes out on home video, in which case I'm probably going to be watching it 5 or 6 more times in the first 2 days that I get it. Let's see. Suthius writes, a new cinema opened in Texas called Canine Cinemas. Interesting. That's right. You can bring your dogs, and you also get wine that is, first of all, Canine Cinemas, Texas. I've got to look this up and send this to Ann, because Ann is about anything that would let you take your dogs to it. Oh my God. Ann would be there every day because of Lily, our dogs, Lily and Shadow. She would be there every freaking day. That sounds amazing, Sue. I just pulled up the website. I got to send this link to Ann. Oh my God. That sounds, why don't they have that in LA? I bet they will at some point. Thanks for sharing that, Suthius. All right. Suthius follows up and writes, only 3 episodes so far, but if you haven't yet, get on Chernobyl. Oh, I'm going to, absolutely. Insane, gripping, and chilling. Man-made disasters are terrifying. Again, it's another show. Ann and I do not watch every show together. Not at all. There's only a couple that we do. But obviously, Jamie King's one is one that we want to watch together. Chernobyl is one we said from the first time we saw the trailers, we want to watch this together. We just haven't had a chance yet. But I will be getting on this because number one, it looked amazing to me even before it debuted. Ever since it debuted, tons of you guys have been telling me just how amazing the show is. I've even got one friend of mine who's an actress who's just writing, just give all the Emmys to Chernobyl right now. I cannot wait to start watching it. I'm going to get on that here pretty quick. All right. Django 19 writes, Thanos was able to use each individual Infinity Stone power in his gauntlet in Infinity War. Do you think Tony's gauntlet can do the same or just the snap? Thanos had to take out the Power Stone to beat Captain Marvel. I don't know. First of all, I was talking earlier about there are just certain problems in Endgame. Tony being able to build a gauntlet is one of those problems. That's a major problem for me. I'm sorry. But Tony, it's kind of like what Rocket said. Tony's only a genius by Earth human levels. There are many, many worlds out there in the MCU that are millennia ahead of us. That for somebody, the only person who could make a gauntlet to harness the power of the stones took a magical giant dwarf living at the heart of a dying star in a mystical magical forge used by Norwegian gods. Tony Stark on some backward little technologically in the Dark Ages world. I can make one in 2 days because I'm magic. That was a real problem for me. That was actually quite stupid. That's really quite a stupid part of the movie. That Tony would, number one, even be able to make a gauntlet. That's idiotic. He's never had all the stones that he could do that. We're in a technologically backwards world. Anyway, I have a lot of problems with that. Anyway, could theoretically, could he have used the powers of the individual stones? I don't see why not. I'm going to guess yes. I'm going to guess yes. Now, Thanos had to take out the Power Stone to beat Captain Marvel. Did he need to do that, or is that just the method by which he chose to do it? That was a good fight between him and Captain Marvel until he ultimately knocked her the F out with one punch. But that just seemed to be the most expedient way that he could do it. I think he would have won that fight ultimately anyway, but I think that was a really cool ending to that fight. I liked it a lot. But as far as the main question, Django, I don't see why not. I don't see why he wouldn't have been able to do that, theoretically speaking. If you can use the power of all of them, why not? It seems to me that would have been even easier just to use the power of one. So I'm going to guess yes. Again, I don't know that for fact. I'm just guessing here, Django, but I'm going to guess yes. All right. Nate Smith writes, 2 of 3 Cinetopia have 4K projection and Dolby sound wine bar. Okay. I remember, Nate, you like a half an hour ago, you wrote in something else, right? So 2 of 3. Cinetopia, which is a theater I believe you like that is getting shut down or just got bought out, has 4K projection and Dolby sound wine bar. Living theaters, I don't know what a living theater is. Bedroom theater, like a living room theater, bedroom theater for smaller, older films. That's intriguing. But again, like when you say, I wouldn't get too bummed out. It depends on what's happening. You say it just got bought. Did it get bought to be bulldozed and built into a shopping center, or did it get bought by another theater chain? Because if it got bought by another theater chain, let me try that again. There may still be hope. Like maybe they're going to keep it as a theater and keep the things that you love about it intact. I'm not saying they are, but there could be hope there. So keep hope alive, Nate. Keep hope alive, because that sounds like a lot of fun. All right. Robbie the Mexican, I like that, writes, John, please tell me, as my favorite Canadian kid, have you ever seen... of course. I've talked about Trailer Park Boys many times. Definitely not for everybody, but I love it. Let's put it this way. Of course, I've seen a lot of Trailer Park Boys. Been around for a long time. It's a little hit and miss for me, kind of like Family Guy is. Like Family Guy, there are episodes that I absolutely love, but not every episode works. I feel the same way about Trailer Park Boys. If I remember correctly, they even made a Trailer Park Boys movie, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, Trailer Park Boys is not for everybody, but if you get a chance to check it out, you may find it actually works for you, so you might want to give that a shot. All right, I like this username, Slightly Overweight Thor writes, can't I just keep pretending you're my son? You are my son. I love, man. That moment is one of the best moments ever in history of movies. Can I just keep pretending I'm your son? And the way Kevin Costner plays that line, the way he says that line, you are my son. Oh my God, I'm getting chills. The hair on my arm is standing up just thinking about that line. So brilliant. Such a great movie. I could talk about Man of Steel all day. I could talk about that movie all day. Nate Smith writes, 3 of 3. Here I come, A-list. I love Cinemia. Cinemia is not even open anymore. They're shut down. They were just a total failure, unfortunately. But not really liking Cinemark's as much. I will miss Cinetopia, though. I like Cinemark's Movie Club. Is it as good as A-list? No. But it's a nice little... If you are a regular moviegoer, Cinemark's Movie Club actually gives you a pretty damn good value. I prefer A-list. Yes, it's better, but Cinemark is a nice value. And if you've got a Cinemark near you, I would encourage you to check it out, because I think their deal looks pretty good too. Of course, if you live close to an AMC, go with the A-list. That is by far the best thing that's ever happened to movie fandom. But don't shut out Cinemark so much. But again, Cinemia is no longer an option either. All right. Phoenix DTS writes, thoughts on live action Brother Bear, the animated film? I feel that animals plus Native American involvement, it could be a huge hit. I disagree. I think that would be pretty much a flop. Love the show and keep up the great work. I think you have the potential for a very good movie. As far as being a giant hit, no, I don't think so. I don't think a live action bear movie is going to be a giant hit. It's not like with a massive pre-existing IP that everybody recognizes either. So I'm going to disagree with you on that. But it could be a good movie. That could be a good movie. Now, and it's not like the Brother Bear animated movie was a total flop either. I think the Brother Bear movie made like over $200 million at the box office. So, it's not like the original was just garbage or a flop or anything like that. It wasn't a massive hit either. But I don't see anything that, and let's be clear here, anything can come out of nowhere and be a big hit. Anything can. But sitting where we're at now, just looking at it, I don't see anything that suggests that would be a big, massive hit. Everything's possible, and it could, but I wouldn't put money on it. So I'm going to disagree with you on that, but it could make for a pretty good live action movie. Who knows? Dropkick Aggie writes, I low key hope Rise of Skywalker. I don't know what. Anyway, I low-key hope Rise of Skywalker ends with a whole hour of Rey's Jedi students facing down Kylo and his army, slowly standing and chanting, "I'm Skywalker." I've been trying more and more to tell people, do not start creating scenarios of what you think needs to be in that movie, or else you're not going to like the movie. You know what I mean? Just put all that out of your head. Does that sound cool? Yeah, that sounds cool. But one of the worst things we as film fans do, and I do this too, we all do it. This is why I'm shaking my head, because I know I do this too, is start creating scenarios, because then what happens is if they don't do the scenario, we go, well, then I didn't like that. Right? It's just, I would say, don't start doing that to yourself, Dropkick. Don't start doing that to yourself. That sounds like a cool scene. But what happens is we get invested in these scenes we want to see in a movie. And if it doesn't do it, we got so invested in the idea that we walk out angry at it or disappointed by it or whatever. So I would say try your best not to do that. Just like I'm trying my best not to do it, because I do it too. I probably do it more than anybody else. And I'm trying to yell at myself to stop doing that damn thing. But it sounds like a cool concept. Just don't get invested in that. Don't get invested in that. That's all I'm saying. All right. Kyle Beckworth writes, "Hey, John, just curious. Has there been a movie this year that would rank higher than A Quiet Place if it were a 2018 film? Keep up the great work." Ooh. Has there been a movie this year? Let me look up, just reminding myself of some movies this year. I actually like Quiet Place more than Endgame. I do. I like it more than Captain Marvel. I liked it more than Us. I liked it more than How to Train Dragon was really good, but I liked it more than How to Train a Dragon. I liked it more than Shazam, Dumbo, Glass, Upside, Pokemon, Lego, Alita, John Wick 3, Escape Room, Pet. Yeah, I hated Pet Sematary. Isn't It Romantic? 5 Feet Apart, blah, Little Breakthrough, Cold Pursuit, Aladdin, Dragon Ball, blah, blah, blah. Well, I just went down through the top 50 movies this year, and so far I haven't seen anything that I liked better than A Quiet Place. Now, I'd still think A Quiet Place is probably still the best movie of 2018, even if you take any of the movies from this year so far and put them in there. I'm still sticking with A Quiet Place. I just think it's that good. Let's see. Where are we at? That's an interesting question, though, Kyle. All right, Suthius writes, "I don't understand, Mr. Campea. People are wanting a Solo sequel, but my question is, where were they to support the first one? Any chances of one anyways? No, I don't think so." And good, look, I understand wanting a Solo sequel because that movie was good. What Ron Howard did with that movie was really quite enjoyable. I thought the movie was very good. It was a very entertaining, fun space adventure movie. And I thought it worked really well. So I can totally understand people wanting to see another one. If you made another one, I would be there because I liked the first one so much. But the fact of the matter is it lost money. These studios are not in the business to lose money. You know, and so, no, I don't see them doing another one. I do not think they're going to do another one. And petitions are useless. Movie petitions are the most useless things in the world. As my dad would say, they're useless. They're more useless than tits on a bull. There's just no, so yeah, no, I don't think they're going to do it. Django 19 writes, "Raptors closeout series tonight. Crazy comeback." Hey, I'm shocked. Like, somebody asked me when the Bucks were up 2-0, somebody asked me, do the Bucks sweep? And I said, no, the Bucks do not sweep. I do think they're going to win the series, but they're not going to sweep. Toronto's going to pull out a couple of games. And now here we are, Toronto's up 3-2. It's going to be tough to close out the Bucks. These guys are great. Obviously, I hope they do because I'm a Toronto guy, but I'm going to guess no. I'm going to guess the series goes to 7. I'm going to guess the series goes to 7, then anything happens. But I'm going to be cheering for the Bucks or for the Raptors tonight. All right, MPE94 writes, "Does Maisie Williams deserve an Emmy for Game of Thrones?" No. I could totally see her getting a nomination, though. I could see her getting a nomination. But an Emmy, winning an Emmy, no. You know, and who knows? Like, she'll probably be in the Best Supporting Actress category. So I think she'll get a lot of consideration there. But does she deserve the win? I'm going to go no, but a nomination, probably. She was damn good this year. Let's see. Man Drop writes, blue is not your color. Anyway, how's your day? I don't, you got me. I'm stumped in that way. I don't know the reference. Sorry about that. Matt Lant writes, hey, John et al. It's just me on open mics. Just a quick message to express my appreciation to yourself and the team for the fabulous content and discussion points each day. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Like I said, it's always really nice when somebody just wants to write in something to say something nice. We love doing this. We love doing this. Me, Jonathan, Ray, Ashley, Rob, we love doing this. The fact that every day we get together here and just talk movies for hours is like one of the greatest things in the world. And we love having you guys here, and you guys make it possible for us to do it. And thank you for supporting us, for being here, for giving us a community to be a part of. We love it. So thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that, dude. All right. NPE94 writes, did you ever play video game Skyrim? Yes, I did. As a matter of fact, I'll never forget this. It's the only time it's ever happened to me. You hear stories about this all the time, but it's the only time it ever happened to me. I was on an iMac that I loved. I loved it. This one iMac I had this one time was the best computer I had ever owned at the time. And I was playing Skyrim on this iMac. And you hear about this sometimes, whatever. Lightning struck the house. And I didn't even know this was actually possible. You hear urban legends about it, but I never actually thought it was possible. Lightning struck the house and I guess create a power surge or something, which is why some people use power surge protectors, I guess. Fried my computer. I didn't even know that was possible. And my iMac became a paperweight. And it was as I was playing Skyrim. And I had only been playing it for a couple of weeks, so I wasn't really far into the game. And I don't know if it created a mental scar, but I never got back to it. I never played it again after that. And it's funny you mentioned that, because a couple of weeks ago, I was looking for a new game to play. Because you guys remember about a month or two ago, I just got a brand new computer. Finally, after like 3 years, almost 4 years, I finally got a brand new computer. And this thing I'm using right now is a beast. And I started looking for some games to play, and I came this close to getting Skyrim remastered. You know what? I probably still will. I'll probably go back and get Skyrim remastered, because I never played that game all the way through. I never even got close to getting all the way through. I don't even got close to being halfway through. So I think I'm going to pick up Skyrim again. Anyway, Christopher Mason writes, I'm proposing in a few hours. Wish my luck. Well, I'm going to wish you luck. You probably meant wish me luck. Good luck on that, man. Momentous. Do me a favor and write to me. You don't have to send a super chat. Just write to me, john@thejohncampeashow.com, and let me know how that went. Fingers crossed for you, buddy. I'm hoping it's a girl you've actually been dating for a while and just not some distant crush. But good for you, man. Huge day for you. Will go down in infamy. Best of luck to you, dude. Let me know how it goes. I'll be really curious to find that out, Christopher. Good luck. All right. That's fun. Richard Karate writes, did you ever watch the show Martial Law with Sammo Hung? I never did. If so, what are your thoughts? I love this show and its crossover with Walker, Texas Ranger. No, I never did. And which is funny because I was a big fan of his. And so the show came out, but I never did get around to watching the show. Never did. Never watched Walker, Texas Ranger either. Those are just a couple shows in that era that I just never got around to watching, and I don't know why. I have no idea why. Django 19 writes, you can see one right now, John Wick 4 or Shazam 2. John Wick 4. Just because of the way John Wick 3 ends, and I just saw John Wick 3, and if I could go in and watch the movie right now, John Wick 4, but I'm dying to see Shazam 2 as well. Strong Nerd sends in a couple super chats. Thank you, Strong Nerd. Sean Stewart writes, are you still enjoying The Blacklist? I am. And I really like the season finale they just had this season. It just kind of felt like, I don't know. It still feels like Blacklist. Because I wasn't all that thrilled with this last season. I still liked it. I liked this last season. But the way the season ended, it felt like it was getting back to its normal self again, and that excites me. So yeah, I'm still enjoying The Blacklist. One of the few shows I still watch. All right, Matt Phillips Reviews writes, it also didn't make sense in Endgame that Captain Marvel was going to fly the gauntlet into the quantum realm unprepared. I don't know that she was going to fly it into the quantum realm. I think she was just getting the gauntlet to Scott. I think she was just getting the gauntlet to Scott, to Ant-Man and Wasp. I think she was just trying to get it to them. I don't know that she was purposely going to try to fly it in herself. Maybe, but I never interpreted it that way. When I was watching the movie, I thought she was just trying to get the gauntlet to them, and then they would know what to do. That's what I thought. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I missed something, but that's what was in my head at any rate. Strong Nerd writes, I had 2 free super chats and wanted to give them to you. Oh, thank you, man. I had 2 free super chats and wanted to give them to you just for being awesome. Thank you, dude. Thank you and the rest of the crew for everything that y'all do. Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. It's, you know what? It's, not only do I love doing this, it always is amazing to me to find out that there are those of you guys who love this as much as I do. And that's always cool to hear. So seriously, man, thank you. You just made me feel pretty damn good for the rest of the day. So thank you for that, Strong Nerd. I appreciate that. ZOMG Ruler writes, would BV Sue make more... I don't know what it is you're asking, ZMG. Sorry about that, man. JPQ Stevens writes, what if Clint's wife had her phone in her hand when Thanos snapped? Their clothes didn't drop to the floor when they disappeared. No, but we saw things they were holding did drop to the floor. Like when we saw Bucky, when Bucky dusted, his clothes didn't disappear, but the things he was holding on to and things like that, they did fall to the floor, right? So that wouldn't make any sense. To me, that doesn't make any sense. So doesn't seem to work. Believe me, that's something I thought of too, JPQ. That is something I thought of too, but that doesn't work because we saw other people dust and things they were holding drop to the floor. Kevin King writes, there are plot holes in Endgame, but making some things plot holes that are not is something else. Hawkeye's wife could have called from home, but she didn't. She didn't call from home. That's what I thought too, because you don't call your home. Look up here. Look right here. What's the name say? What does the caller ID say? It's not home. It's not his daughter. It's not family. It's not the kids. It's just her. Laura. Her only. So, nope, she wasn't calling from... Believe me, that's one I thought about too. But she wasn't calling from home. That is very clearly Laura's number. Just her with her picture. Not home, not the kids, not the family, not whatever. It's just Laura. So that was her cell phone calling his cell phone. Is what it is. But believe me, Kevin, my mind went there too at first. My mind went there too, just like yours did. My mind went there too at first. When I said, oh, no, that doesn't make sense because that's clearly her personal phone calling him, not the home phone. All right, Jake Iyer writes, do you think that watching films in 4K is worth it? Nope. Look, there's actually some good videos on YouTube that explain that 4K, it depends on how close to your TV you're sitting. If you're sitting this close, you're going to notice a difference in 4K. If you're like my living room where you're sitting a good 15 feet away from the television, then your eye can simply not perceive the difference between like HD and 4K. Your eye will perceive no difference. Again, the best thing to do is go and look up. There are some really good videos on YouTube that explain that whole thing. But hey, if your living room, you're sitting 4 feet from your TV, you may notice a big difference with 4K compared to regular HD. If you're sitting like 10 feet away, your eye probably won't notice a difference. But again, forget listening to me. There are some really good videos on YouTube that explain that difference, and I would encourage you to go check those out. Okay. Suthius writes, a new cinema opened in Texas called... Did I miss something? Am I in the Matrix here? Deja vu? A new cinema opened in Texas called Canine Cinemas. That's right. You can bring your dogs and you can also get wine with all you can drink. You already sent that in, Suthius, but it's still awesome. It is still awesome hearing about that, and I still can't wait to send that to Anne. Christopher James writes, are the Star Wars special editions Elseworld movies? Nope, they're canon. The Star Wars, because that's what the creator of the movies, George Lucas, says these are the definitive versions of Star Wars. The other ones don't exist anymore. I don't like it. I don't agree with it. I don't feel good about it, but that's what George said. The Star Wars special editions are now the definitive editions of what Star Wars is. The originals no longer exist. And again, I don't like it, but that's the way he set it up. Cass Graphics writes, hello, did you notice in John Wick 3, the doctor early in the movie was the same actor as Keymaker in... Oh, that's why I recognized him. No, I didn't notice that. Thank you for pointing that out. That is cool. I like that. That's cool. I'm like, where have I seen this guy before? Why do I know this guy? He was Keymaker. Oh my God. That just makes it all the cooler now. That makes it all the cooler. I can't believe I didn't realize that. Thank you for pointing that out, Cass. Thank you for pointing that out. That's going to be my cool new thing I learned today for the day. All right. Suthius writes, thought it was just an okay movie. I enjoy the cast of though it was just an okay movie, I enjoyed the cast of Triple Frontier and wouldn't mind seeing them together again. Even Garrett Hedlund was good. You know what? I was excited to watch Triple Frontier. And then I heard a bunch of mixed things about it, and I never got around to watching it. I think one of these days when I've gotten a lazy afternoon to myself, which never happens, but the next time I do, I think I'm going to check that out. Because it is such a good cast. But again, I was excited about it. Then I heard mediocre things and I never just got around to it. I should check it out at some point, Suthius. I really should. All right, anyway, Django19 writes, I know you love Fantasy Draft Day, as I do as well. Who would you go after if you had a top 5 pick in the draft this year? QB is last priority for me. I don't know, man. I mean, it used to be that running backs were really, I mean, you had to look at your running backs as your first picks quite often, because these are the guys that punch it into the end zone. You get a lot of points there, yards, blah, blah, blah. But as the NFL has become more and more of a passing league and more of a quarterback-centric league, and you do have more and more quarterbacks these days who not only throw touchdown passes, but will run it in themselves. So we're seeing that increase as well. And with the amount of yards being totaled up, dude, quarterback may be your last priority, but if you've got a top 5 pick and you've got an option for, I don't know, a certain quarterback on the New England Patriots, if you've got an option for a certain quarterback on the Kansas City Chiefs, if you've got an option for a certain quarterback on the Green Bay Packers, if you've got an option for a certain quarterback on the LA Rams, if you got a top 5 pick in your fantasy league and one of those guys are on the board still, QB may be your lowest priority, but I think it would be a fool's errand not to pick him. If you've got a certain KC quarterback, you got number 3 and you get down to number 3 and a certain Kansas City Chiefs quarterback is still sitting there on the board, you take him. You get number 4 pick and a certain New England Patriot quarterback is still there on the board, you take them. Especially because running backs too, like running backs are of a breed that a running back can have an all-star year one year and next year just disappear. We've seen it happen many times. So I don't want to get into too much here, but I'm just telling you, man, you might want to reevaluate the way the league has changed. You might want to reevaluate, including like defensive rules and all that kind of stuff. You might want to reevaluate where your priority list is on the QB, because I'm telling you, they're going to be your main point driver this year, I believe, at any rate. But I'm not an expert. I'm just telling you my personal thoughts. All right. Let's move on here. Ray writes, have you watched What We Do in the Shadows on FX? It's quite funny. It reminds me of Always Sunny, but with vampires. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm dying to. Anne has watched it. Again, Anne and I don't watch all of our shows together, but that's one of the shows she's been watching. I've been very excited to check it out. She says she really enjoys it. And just, God, I love the movie so much. Guys, if you have not seen the movie, What We Do in the Shadows, by Taika Waititi, who directs it and stars in it, and he's the guy who directed Thor Ragnarok, and he plays Korg in the MCU. You have got to see this movie. This movie is so damn funny. It's just hysterical. You have to check it out. So yeah, I've been very excited to check out the series. I just heard it got renewed for season 2, which is great, which means good things for it, but I haven't checked it out yet, Ray, but I am going to do that imminently because it's very high on my list right now. All right. Matsif Jada writes, Uwe Boll's reviews on Letterboxd are very immature. I imagine. Uwe Boll is a character. He is not the most stately of people. He's not the most well-spoken. He's not the most tamed. That's all. Matsif, I have not read them myself, but I have no doubt you are probably 100% correct. Jake Iyer writes, I love the film Hudson Hawk. We need a sequel. People have been asking, classic Bruce Willis. People have been asking for, where's Hudson Hawk 2 for a long time. I never really understood the fascination that a lot of people have with Hudson Hawk, but believe me, Jake, you are not alone. People have been wanting that for a long time, my friend. All right, I'm Upset writes, are you looking forward to Birds of Prey at all? Nope. But I'm curious. I'm curious, and I'm gonna go into it with an open mind. There's just nothing about it that seems to make sense to me right now. Now, I love the performers in it. Okay, love the performance. I love Margot Robbie. Oh God, I've had a minor celebrity crush on Elizabeth Winstead for a long time. She's awesome. So I like the cast, but just philosophically, the existence of this movie doesn't make any sense to me. But then again, I haven't read the script, nor have I seen the movie. And we haven't seen any trailers. I mean, yeah, they put that little teaser out, but that was nothing. So who knows? Maybe I'll totally change my mind once I see it first. As of right now, no excitement for it at all, although I'm a little curious, but no excitement. But that can change drastically once we see the first trailer and once we start to get an idea about what this movie's really about. That could change, but right now, not a lot. Stephen Richards writes, have you ever watched Red Dwarf? Off the top of my head, no. Apparently it's a TV series that apparently has been around for a long time. Nope, never heard of it. I'm not familiar with it, Stephen. And apparently it's been around forever, like 12 seasons? This must be a BBC show. It has to be a BBC show because I would have at least heard of it by now, especially if it's been on for 12 seasons. So no, I have never seen Red Dwarf, but thanks for putting it on my radar, man. Jared Howe writes, thoughts on Groundhog Day, my favorite comedy. Oh, it's great. I mean, yeah, Groundhog Day is great and iconic, and it's one of these comedies that people to this day still talk about all the time. Absolutely. It's not my all-time favorite comedy, but it's a great classic movie. Love Groundhog Day. RSN2277 writes, hey, John, love the show. Thank you so much. Since Cinema is gone, is there any substitute for it? Nearest AMC is 35 miles away. Whew. So no A-list. Cinemark is near me, but it only has one movie ticket a month, unlike A-list for 3 movies a month. Please help. Almost tempted to go back to Movie Pass. Well, Movie Pass won't get you anything. That's the thing with Movie Pass. Look more closely at the Cinemark deal. Okay? Because not only does it get you the one ticket, but it allows you to buy other tickets that month for a reduced price. So while it's not as good as A-list, it offers a really good value. It does. So I would say look a little more closely to that Cinemark Movie Club. Don't look beyond the one ticket it gets. Read all the other details, because I believe not only does that the price per month get you the one ticket, it gives you all the other tickets that you buy that month at a much reduced rate, depending on the price of a regular movie ticket. Because where I live, a movie ticket's like $20. And I believe Cinemark's was like $8. You can buy future movie tickets that month for a reduced cost. So while it's not as good as A-list, it still offers a good value. So I would really highly recommend, RSN, that you go back and double check all the details about all the benefits you get. You know what? I would even suggest this. Call Cinemark and say, hey, I'm thinking about joining the movie club you guys have. Can you explain all the benefits to me? And then get all the, and then I also believe there's reduced rate for your concession stands and all that kind of stuff. It's a good value. Not as good as A-list, but a good value nonetheless. I'd say go check that out. Okay. Olivier just sends in a super chat. Thank you so much, man. King Latom, I like that name, writes in, hey, John, Do you think Kit Harington would be a good fit for the new Star Wars trilogy? Would you run the risk of it being similar to Jon Snow for viewers? I think he'd be great as a conflicted Jedi. Okay, first of all, never ask me, do you think X actor would be good in X role? It's not about would an actor be good in a series. It's never about that. It's about, do you have one particular role that you have coming up in your movie that do you think that actor would be a good fit for that? Look, my most general answer is always this. Whenever you ask, would X actor be good in X role? My only question is that actor a good actor? That's all I care about. So is Kit Harington a decent actor? I believe Kit Harington's a good actor. I don't think he's one of the world's best, but I believe he's a good, solid actor. So yeah, I could see him in a Star Wars movie. Never get into this typecasting thing that I could see him as a disgruntled Jedi. If you're a good actor, you can be anything. He could be a librarian. He could be a soldier. He could be a air traffic controller for the Galactic Empire. He could be whatever he wants to be. It's a good actor. But again, it's never about would a certain actor be good in a certain movie. It's about would a certain actor be good in a specific role that they have for the movie. And the answer for me is always, is that guy a good actor? If he is, then he'll work. Would he be the best fit for it? Well, I don't know. I haven't read the script. Only the director who has read the script will know if a certain actor is a good fit for that movie or not. But from a fan's point of view, like myself, King, it's just, all I care about is it a good, solid performer? Kit Harington, for me, is a good, solid performer. Yes, he could work in there. Would people just see Jon Snow? Well, that's up to Kit Harington. Can Kit Harington go in there and play whatever role well enough that people get past the fact that he's Jon Snow? Or does he only know how to act like Jon Snow and therefore people only see Jon Snow? That would be up to Kit Harington. But I believe he can go in there, just like I watch movies with Daniel Craig in it, and I don't see James Bond, particularly if he's playing a character very different from James Bond. He's a good enough actor that he lets me get over that pretty quick. I believe Kit Harington is a good enough actor that we as an audience would get past that, but that's up to him. So I would say Kit Harington, since he's a good actor, would be a good fit for any film franchise. Put him in any film franchise. If the director feels he's a good fit for a particular specific role, I think he's a good enough actor that he can pull it off. So that's my thoughts on that. Suthius writes, Mr. Nice Guy, Rumble in the Bronx, Operation Condor, Police Story Series, we're talking about a certain martial artist, I believe, and so on and so on. So many good times watching Jackie Chan be Jackie Chan. Jackie Chan is a global treasure. There's just something that's awesome about Jackie Chan. And man, honestly, maybe my favorite, this is a very unpopular opinion, but I think my favorite Jackie Chan movie is still Rush Hour 2. More than Drunken Master, more than Rumble in the Bronx, more than any of that, I still think, while I'm not a fan of Rush Hour 1, and I certainly don't like Rush Hour 3, Rush Hour 2, I believe, is a highly underrated movie that more people need to see and appreciate, and I love him in that movie. That's just Jackie Chan at his Jackie Chan best, in my opinion. Now, a lot of people want to go to his more native films that he does, and that's fine, but I just love him in that one myself completely. He is a living movie treasure, in my opinion. All right, Django 19. Where do we go on this? Django 19 writes, saw Jackie Brown for the first time. Wow. That's it. Not a lot of, you know what? That's true though. Not a lot of people have checked out Jackie Brown. If you take all of Quentin Tarantino's movies and you rank them by how many people have seen them, Jackie Brown would probably come in near the bottom. So I guess it shouldn't be all that surprising. Not one of my favorite Tarantino movies, but still great. Also need to rewatch Kill Bill because I was younger when I saw it. Jackie Brown is really solid. And I agree with you, not one of the top 2 or 3 best Tarantino movies, but Tarantino movies are so good, you don't necessarily have to be one of his top 2 or 3 to be a great movie. I think Jackie Brown is really, really good, really, really solid. And it is surprising, even as much Quentin Tarantino love there is out there, a lot of people have not checked it out, and they really should. And it's always good to revisit Kill Bill, man. It's always good to revisit Kill Bill. Django then just sends in a couple super chats. Thank you, Django. Ji Ying D writes, how many Endgame spoiler chats do you have left? I actually have 3 left. 1 is already done. I'm posting it today. Actually, as soon as I'm done this show, I'm posting it. It's another one that Rob did. And then I have 2 more left after that I'm doing myself. So 3 left in total. I know there's 5 up right now. We got 1 more coming today and then 2 more after that. So keep your eyes open for it. All right. Olivier writes, people say Captain Marvel didn't do anything in Endgame aside from saving Tony, giving hope and a plan to a broken team, saving them and stopping a snap. Yes, that's true. Yes, she actually accomplished a lot in a very short period of time in that movie. She didn't have a big role to play in this movie, but she took out his ship. She saved Tony. I mean, to say she didn't do anything in the movie is preposterous. She actually accomplished. Now, did she have a big role in the film? No, she's not in the film very much. There's a lot of characters not in the film very much. They focused a lot on a certain number of characters, and that's fine. But to say she didn't do anything, I think you're right, man. That's a ridiculous thing to say. Shane Cutsaw sends in a very large super chat. Thank you for that, Shane. Thank you for supporting the channel at that level, man. That's really generous of you, dude. All right. Hey, John. Sorry it's been a while. Oh, no problem. Good to have you here. Is Stephen Summers done? Ooh. He had some duds in G.I. Joe and Odd Thomas, but had success with The Mummy Returns, which were revisited by old and new audiences after that colossal disaster release in 2017. Is he done? You know what? That's a name I've not thought about in a while, is Summers. I remember I did a video. The last time I really thought about Stephen Summers was I did a video back when G.I. Joe came out because he was criticizing the audience for not liking some things that he did. And I remember I just went to town on the guy. I like what he did with The Mummy. I do. I like what he did with The Mummy. Let's see. What has he done? Well, as a director, what has he done? Yeah, Odd Thomas, that was his G.I. Joe Rise of Cobra. You're right, that I didn't even realize that. That Odd Thomas movie he did was the first film he did since that G.I. Joe film. He just kind of became hands off. Now, he does have an announced movie that he's got on his credits right now called When Worlds Collide. A rogue planet is discovered on a collision course with Earth, and mass hysteria of biblical proportions will break out in the streets once knowledge of the secret and impending doom. So it sounds like an apocalyptic type of movie. There's no actors attached to it right now, but apparently he's announced to direct this. Then again, lots of things that get announced never actually happen. But yeah, it does kind of look like he may be done. Now, he has been more active as a producer. But then again, only like he produced The Scorpion King 4, Quest for Power. I don't even know what that was. And then he produced The Scorpion King Book of Souls in 2018. I have no idea what that is. So yeah, it looks like his career pretty much ran out of steam. Will he make a return? I'm going to doubt it at this point. I'm going to doubt it. But hey, anything can happen. Who knows? Maybe this When Worlds Collide movie actually does happen and actually does get placed and actually does get made, and maybe it's a big giant hit, and maybe he's a superstar again. Who knows? I doubt it, but we'll have to wait and see. Anything can happen in this business, and we all love a good comeback story. All right, thanks again for that, Shane. Appreciate that. Hoser Mias writes, does Rotten Tomatoes review video games? I don't think so. They should probably open a video game review division. That would probably be a good idea for them. But as of right now, I don't think they do. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think they do. Sully just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Sully. Took a big jump. Where are we at here? Geo writes, Booksmart will be nominated for Best Pick. You know what? I'm hearing stupid good things about this movie, and I didn't even think the trailers looked all that great. Granted, I've seen lots of movies where I didn't like the trailers, and I've seen lots of movies where I didn't like the trailers, and then I ended up loving the movie. Booksmart, I love that Olivia Wilde's directing it, but it's got a 97% right now on Rotten Tomatoes. And now that Rotten Tomatoes only counts viewer ratings who have verified to see the movie, it's got an 83% from the audience score as well. And you seem to like it very much, Gio. I got to see this thing. Ann and I were just talking about this the other night. It's like, have you seen the reviews for Booksmart? Like, people are loving it. We should probably go give this thing a chance. So glad to hear that you liked it, man. All right. Edward Arzola writes, "Hey, John, you're my favorite YouTuber. Love the show." Thank you so much, Edwin. I really appreciate that, man. It's always nice when people just want to say nice things. Thank you. Just made me feel good inside. Abel Hooray writes, "Recently saw the Dark Knight trilogy on IMAX 70mm. Nice. I wish more movies were projected on film these days." Yeah, it's not always practical, and it's not always better. Like, look, as much as I love IMAX 70mm, my personal favorite movie watching experience is still the Dolby Prime experience. That dual laser projection system just gives you images that I never would have thought were really possible, and yet they do it. So that's still my favorite thing today. But that is watching Dark Knight in IMAX, because I know I did that back in the day, is a really impressive thing. It's a really, really impressive. If you ever get a chance to see The Dark Knight in IMAX, like an IMAX 70mm, check it out, because it's pretty awe-inspiring. It really is. NPE 94 writes, "Why does a film need to make 2.5 times its budget? Sometimes 3, sometimes 4, depending on the budget." Look, basic thing is this, because the budget, you got to then add on top of the budget, you have to add marketing costs. Some movies cost like 30 or 40 million to market. Some movies like Endgame spend 200 million to market. So then you got your total expense. Then you take the box office that it makes, and you got to minus roughly 1/3 off of that, because the theaters keep roughly 1/3. When you do all that math, depending how big the budget of the movie is, and depending how big the marketing budget was, it ultimately means that your movie has to roughly make, in box office numbers, roughly 2.5 to 3 to 3.5 times what it was produced for. So that's the, I can't go into more in depth than that. I do an entire video on that on my YouTube channel. Take a search for that and see if you can find it. Emmanuel Ericart writes, "Hey, John, new Patreon supporter here." Well, thank you for being a Patreon supporter, Emmanuel. I appreciate that, man. "Have you seen The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?" Yes, I have. Love that movie. Sam Rockwell is awesome in it. "So long, thanks for all the fish." Yeah, I like the movie. I got to admit, I didn't love it, but I did enjoy the movie. I don't even remember Sam Rockwell being in it. I remember the movie. Hiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm assuming we're talking about the 2005 one. Who was Sam Rockwell in that? Because I don't even see him on the cast list. Let me go to the full cast. Oh, I just got a text message from Ann saying she just landed in Vegas. There we go. Nope. Sam Rockwell was in it. He played Zappa. Okay. I didn't even remember him in the movie. That's how long it's been since I've seen it. But yeah, I do like the film. Let's see. And thank you for being a Patreon supporter, man. That's awesome. Make sure you join the Facebook group. Make sure you participate in our Patreon-only exclusive podcast of Best of the Week. Get questions in for that. Just make sure you get yourself all settled in there, dude. All right. King of the Hills 34 writes, "Headed to see John Wick Chapter 3. Excited. You should be excited, dude. I know you're going to have a good time. Make sure you share what you thought of it once you do." Anthony Martinelli writes, "Hi, John." Hello, Anthony. "I started watching about a year ago." Thank you, man. "I've watched every day since. I'm going through a hard time after losing a loved one, but your show is helping me get through it. Thank you for all you do." Well, first of all, man, deepest condolences. It's always tough and rough when we lose some. I've been through it. You've been through it before, I'm sure, and you're going through it now. You know, one of the great things I've always loved about the film fan community, man, movies and the movie fan community is, and you guys hear me say this all the time, but it's true. Movies aren't an escape. I don't think movies are an escape. I think they're an oasis. You know, when we're going through real crap in our lives, I have found for me that when I can go and then watch a good movie while going through some crappy stuff in my life, if I can go either watch a good movie or get into some really good movie discussion with people, it doesn't fix my problems. But what it does is it gives my mind a momentary break. It gives my mind what I call an oasis. That it allows my mind a chance to rest a little bit, to think about other things. And I find that once I've watched a good movie or had a good discussion with some movie fans about movies or whatever, I find I'm then able to come back into the crappy situation. And it didn't fix my situation, but what happens is my mind is just a little bit better to deal with it. And my mind is able to come at things with maybe a little bit of a different perspective. and all that kind of stuff. And it just makes life work better. I don't know. That's what I've always found for me. And if Anthony, if this little film fan community here has been able to be of service to you in that way, that's awesome. We're thrilled to have you as a part of it. And again, deepest condolences for what you're going through. And I'm not going to say, buck up, it's all going to be, it sucks. It sucks when you're going through that type of crap. And our thoughts with you, man. Our thoughts with you. And thanks for being a part of the community, Anthony. We appreciate it. All right. The bearded one writes, have you seen Dragonheart? If so, did you like it? Oh man, I see. Yeah, of course, everybody's seen Dragonheart. That was around in that era. Let me just make sure I'm thinking about, because I'm thinking about the Sean Connery one. Hold a second. Because maybe I'm thinking about the wrong movie. Dragonheart, the 1996 classic. Yes, indeed. With, I believe Sean Connery. Was Sean Connery not the voice of the dragon? I mean, he's got Dennis Quaid, but I thought Sean Connery was the voice of the dragon. Was he not? Yeah, there it is. Yeah, Sean Connery. He's at the very bottom of the credits list. Draco. But anyway, yes, I remember liking it. I remember watching it. I remember liking it. It has been a long time. I don't know if it holds up. I'm not saying it doesn't. I don't know if it holds up because it's been a long time since I've seen it. It's probably been a good 15 years since I've seen it. And I don't know if it would hold up at all, but I remember liking it at the time. Michael Rajpal writes, are you worried about Bond 25 given its troubles? No. Look, any movie can be terrible. Any movie can be great. Look at, there are very few movies that had as many problems, behind the camera problems, as World War Z did. And I ended up really liking that movie. So, no, look, I'm as nervous about it as I am about any movie that gets made, because any movie can suck and any movie can be great. Do I feel any extra apprehension because of the little behind the scenes dramas? Not really. Not really. The movie's going to be what it is. So I'm still hopeful, I'm still enthusiastic, and still keeping my fingers crossed. All right, Suthius writes, are you, no, that was Michael. Where's Suthius? There he is. Suthius writes, look, Mr. Campea, I have 3 heathens running around my house. I can't even remember what I had for breakfast, let alone sending in the same. Oh, that's right, because you accidentally sent in a duplicate super chat about the Canine theaters. No problem, man. Totally understand. I don't have 3 little heathens running around my house, and I would still forget that sometimes. So all good, Suthius, all good. And good luck taking care of the little heathens. All right, Laugh Warehouse writes, sorry, where'd we go? Laugh Warehouse writes, you plan on going to Star Wars Land. It's going to be packed. It is. Actually, Ann and I, we're going in 2 weeks. We've already got our Disneyland hotel booked. We've got our time slot set. We're going to go see New Galaxy's Edge. And it's funny, I just had dinner with somebody last night who has been there. So, and just saying rave things about it, saying it's way better than a few other things. I'm not going to create comparisons here, but I'm very excited about it, very stoked, and yep, it's going to be packed. Nick writes, do we know how much content Disney Plus will claim from other streaming services? Does Disney Plus have the potential to be the biggest right off the bat? No, it's not going to be the biggest right off the bat. The amount of content they have to start compared to a Netflix or something like that is going to be laughable. It's going to be very small comparatively. What Disney is going for to launch is really high quality. Launching with a Mandalorian right off the bat is going to help. And then building the library. But no, their library size compared to what Netflix is going to have to start is going to be small. Compared to Amazon Prime is going to be small. But they're just starting. And they're going to start with some very high profile stuff, some very high quality stuff. And that's what's going to be their plan. Whether it works or not, we'll have to wait and see. Artur Mansuri writes, great Avatar rant. My point was that the demand has decreased for Avatar 2. Just like Solo only made 392 million, Avatar will be less than 2 billion. Anyway, sorry for the show. No, don't make no apology. Hey, dude, you and I can get into a beef and have some fun. We can have some fun disagreement and all that kind of stuff on movies. You don't have to apologize for it, dude. Not at all. This is part about being film fans. Anyway. But there are massive differences between those scenarios. Like, yeah, Solo made $400 million, but that was a completely different set of scenarios than what Avatar was. Does Avatar have the same heat for it right now as it did when the first one came out? No, I mean, it's coming years later, but do not mistake that nobody's asking for it. Yeah, there are. There are a lot of people who are very, very excited for another Avatar. This movie's going to join the $1 billion club easy. It may not make 2. I don't expect that it'll make 2, but 2 billion is not the measuring stick as to whether a film is a big success or not. Spider-Man Homecoming made 850, somewhere around there, $850 million. That was a huge success. Didn't have to make $1 billion, didn't have to make $2 billion. So, yeah, Avatar 2 is not going to make $2 billion, but almost no film will. That's fine. You don't need $2 billion to be a massive, massive, massive success. You join the $1 billion club, you are a massive success. Your Spider-Man Homecoming made $850 million at the box office. That's a big success, man. Big success. Avatar 2 will be a massive success. Won't be $2 billion, but $2 billion is not the measuring stick. That's all I'm saying. All right. Ray1 just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Ray1. Let's see. Ishra Maud writes, favorite Family Guy episode or just any scene? Woo! Favorite Family Guy episode. Man, there's a lot of them. God. One of my favorite scenes too is when Brian has Stewie in the car with him and he's going to go break up with this girl, but instead he has sex with it and he feels bad. He comes back into the car and Stewie says, why does it smell like sweat and what is it? Sweat and shame or something like that. Anyway, I remember laughing my fool head off on. I'd have to think about that off the top of my head, but Family Guy is a hit and miss kind of show. Sometimes they'll have episodes where I'm like, there is nothing funny about this, but then the very next episode will make me roll on the floor in pain from laughing so hard. So it's just one of those shows. Suthius writes, kick names and take ass. Such a ridiculous line. Where do we go here? Such a ridiculous line. But it is pure gold coming out of Mantis's mouth. She fits in with the morons perfectly. Again, there are so many lines in Endgame that if I read the line in advance, I'd go, oh, this is a stupid line. This will never work. But then you actually see it on screen and you're like, oh, damn, that really did work. That was one of the way, because if I had read the script and saw Mantis then says, we kick names and take ass, I'd go, that's not funny. That's not funny. But then you actually see it on the screen the way they played it out, and it is really funny. So just one of those things where even if you read it on the page, you're not seeing what the director has in their head about how it's going to play out, right? That's difficult to do. It's lost in translation a little bit, but it is a great line. All right. Ryan Lohner writes, loving every time Lucifer and Trixie talk. Oh, God, I love Trixie in that. That is one of the most adorable child actors I have ever seen. And they didn't do much with her this season, but every time she's in the show, all the way back to season 1, she's getting older. She is one of the most adorable child actors you have ever seen. I agree with you, Ryan. Taki75 writes, worst actress, Emilia Clarke or Sophie Turner? It's early to call. Look, I actually think I have not been impressed with Emilia Clarke in anything she's been in other than Game of Thrones, but I think she was fantastic in Game of Thrones. So I think the jury is still out on Emilia Clarke. Sophie Turner, the only thing I've seen her in other than Game of Thrones, which I think she's amazing in Game of Thrones, is X-Men Apocalypse. And while I do not like that movie, I thought she was pretty good in it. I thought she was pretty good. So I'm not going to proclaim either one of them worst actress. I think the jury is still out on both of them. And I think we need to give both of them a little bit more time, a little bit more of a chance to see what it is they got outside of Game of Thrones. I thought they were both great in Game of Thrones. Let's see what they got outside of it. Dave Atkins writes, seen Gods Must Be Crazy sequel. You know what? No, I don't think I ever did see the sequel. As a matter of fact, I don't think I ever did. That's the first time I was ever asked that question as well, Dave. You actually asked a really original question. Phil Harwell writes, will the Fox library be a part of Disney Plus at launch? I don't know if it will at launch, because some of Fox's library might be licensed out to other places for now. They got to wait for those licenses to play out. But I think at some point it will all be on Disney Plus. I'm sure a bunch of it will be there. I doubt all of it right at launch, though. Dave Aikens writes, you still doing play-in chats, Senior McFilthy? You know, it's funny. I haven't done one in a while because I've just been obscenely busy. But it was funny. I was just talking to Ann last night. We were in Corona last night. I said, I got to start doing play-in chats again. It's because I miss doing them. So more play-in chats are coming. More play-in chats are coming. It's been a while, but more are coming. And finally, last question of the day, guys. Don't send in any more. This will be our last question today. We've already gone over 2.5 hours. Final question today comes to us from the Bearded One, who writes, with video game movies being made more often today, I hope we can get a Mass Effect adaptation. It's my favorite game franchise. That or Gears of War. Gears of War, there seems to be, despite all the failure we've had, there seems to be a real new push to get video game material made. We just saw the announcement that Sony is launching a dedicated division just for PlayStation games. We just saw it announced that a Just Cause series is getting a video game adaptation. It seems like with the comic book genre maybe starting to feel a bit played out, we're seeing them looking for new franchise material, and they're looking back. And look, the Tomb Raider movie wasn't all that bad. So maybe they see some hope there. I think it's not going to be too much longer before we hear about those ones bearded getting taken in. All right, I said no more, but a couple more got slid in here, so I'll address these quick. Tim Hortons better than Starbucks, right? So Kylo can sense and stop Poe's blaster in the Force the Force Awakens, but doesn't catch Chewie's. Stupid in my opinion. He didn't see Chewie's coming. He was also much further away, and he was kind of in a moment of emotional shock of what just happened with his dad. I think you got to take a lot more things. You got to look at it more than just surface level. I think there were a lot of things going on in that moment, so that made perfect sense to me. And then finally, the hero writes, well done, John. Stay awesome. Thank you so much, the hero. I appreciate that, man. And guys, that will do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Don't forget, we're going to do another open mic tomorrow afternoon. Make sure you come on back and join us. And then Monday, a brand new episode of the John Campea Show. I've actually already started working a couple of the stories that we're going to be talking about on Monday. Ashley won't be back yet. She's still traveling, but Kaori Takei is going to be joining us on Monday. Me, Kaori, Robert are going to be here on Monday for the John Campea Show. Make sure you join us then. Guys, thank you so much for being here and doing this with me. Not only because you've given us some great fun things to talk about and debate and discuss, but also because you've supported the channel along the way. And I thank you so much that you guys are those types of people who are willing to actually support the content you enjoy watching. So thank you for that, guys. I appreciate that. All right, guys, that will do it for me for now. My name is John Campea, and until next time, guys, bye-bye.